for Monday, January 7th. Let the record reflect that it's 6:44. And we'll take the roll. We have notification that Trustee House and Trustee Denton will not be here tonight. We haven't heard from Trustee Henry yet, but we'll take the roll and get started.
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House, absent. Trustee Denton, absent. Trustee Pearson?
Here.
Trustee Henyard, absent. Mayor Rogers?
Here. We have a quorum with 3 trustees and myself, so we'll move forward. If everybody can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing, we'll have Elder Creighton leads us in prayer tonight.
Everything about your guys' schools. Eternal God, our Father, we thank and praise you for the opportunity to see another year. We thank you, God, that things are as well as they are. We ask now that you would bless the mayor, the clerk, trustees, that you would bless those that are in attendance tonight in this entire village. We thank you, oh God, for everything. Now have your perfect will and way. We'll be careful to give your name all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor, and all God's people say.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, the first thing on the agenda tonight is the administration of the oath of the office of firefighters. We are hiring 3 firefighters. They will take the oath tonight. I know some of the family members and friends are here. After this oath is presented, there'll be some pictures taken. If you want to stay for the rest of the board meeting, you can. If not, you can exit if you like. But at any rate, Chief Dyer, if those 3 members could come forward. Our village clerk will administer the oath. There.
Carry the flag.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees. Tonight, the Village of Dolton Fire Department, along with the Mayor, Riley Rogers, and the village trustees would like to welcome our 3 newest members, Firefighter Jason Fons, Jonathan Smith, and Nicholas Trimster, to the Village of Dolton. These 3 members are the first applicants to be named off the Fire Department's current eligibility list. They bring with them youth, determination, and their promise to provide outstanding community service to the residents of the Village of Dolton.
Gentlemen, as I said before, I don't want to mess this up. So you don't need me to be heard as much as you. So if you can hear me, we're good. Okay. Please raise your right hand, not wave. There you go. Already done. Okay. And repeat after me. I. And state your name, please.
Nicholas Trimstra.
Having been appointed to the office of firefighter.
Having been appointed to the office of firefighter.
In the Village of Dolton.
In the Village of Dolton.
In the County of Cook.
In the County of Cook.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of firefighter,
of the office of firefighter,
Village of Dolton,
the Village of Dolton,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Before you leave.
Everybody look this way. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. Got it.
Let me get a picture of them signing it. We got an extra here. We have one here.
Sign on the right one.
I got an extra. All right, congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All righty. Yeah, good luck to you. Yes, sir.
All right, congratulations once again on the hiring of our new firefighters. John Murphy, you gotta know John Murphy's running late. Next thing on our agenda is a presentation by Lydia Scott. Come on up, Ms. Guy. Lydia is the director of the Chicago Region for Tree Initiative from the Morton Arboretum, and she's going to present your program tonight. Come on up, right here. Oh, you got a video? Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you. So just as a little background, we have a video on why trees are important and why it's beneficial to maintain them from a cost standpoint. And then I have a little presentation on some of the work that we've been doing here in the Village of Dolton for the last 2 years with the mayor and the staff here in Dolton, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. So let me start this video, and if we get a blessing from the pastor, maybe we'll for sure get it.
Trees improve the quality of life in our communities. They improve property values, help handle stormwater and prevent flooding, increase revenue, save energy, and provide shade and beauty for your residents. But trees need care. They require maintenance like all your other infrastructure. Just like neglecting your sidewalks increases your community's risk and liability, failing to care for your trees can lead to hazards and costs.
One way a municipality can be rendered liable for failure to maintain trees is to be deliberately indifferent to the condition of the trees and ignore plain and obvious signs that the trees are distressed or at risk of causing harm. The duty of care that the state of Illinois imposes on public bodies to care for their property requires them to take measures to become reasonably aware of conditions that are not reasonably safe. And so if they're deliberately indifferent, they're violating that duty.
Trees are a smart investment, even when your budget is tight.
A number of years ago, the City Council, as many communities, was going through a period where funds weren't readily available. One of the things that we started to look at when budget cuts were done was the tree trimming program and how we paid for maintenance of our trees. So they cut a little money out of that, and a few years later we had a major storm, and it created havoc in our community. We had trees down everywhere, we had branches blocking streets, and it ended up for us that it probably cost us as much or more money to go back and fix these things and do the cleanup as it would have been if we'd done the maintenance. My comment to the council at that time was, If we don't trim the trees, Mother Nature will. Just like we would look at sewer maintenance or water main maintenance, how do we maintain the trees that are on city property?
This is on our desk. This looks like some of yours.
Communities that don't invest in trees risk losing out on the benefits that trees provide. For example, trees can intercept rainwater, easing the load on storm sewers. On average, mature trees increase the sale price of a house 3.5% to 4.5%. Research shows shoppers will travel farther to a retail area with trees and will spend up to 12% more. Trees that are well cared for can increase both property and sales tax revenue. Planting trees improves your community, especially when those trees are well chosen and they are pruned early in life to create a strong, resilient structure.
Maintaining our tree canopy, maintaining our infrastructure of trees is every bit as important as allocating enough money to reforest and plant new trees, or for that matter, every bit as important as having enough salt on hand for the winter and having enough asphalt to fill potholes. And so allocating the proper amount of money saves us money.
Investing in trees and tree care can improve your community's bottom line. Start by assessing the trees you have and making a plan to care for them. The Chicago Region Trees Initiative can help with advice, examples, templates, and free or low-cost training.
Working with the forestry department, our city forester, he's been able to explain to me the importance of a proper maintenance program from the time you do plant that tree, and then that allows the tree to grow more quickly and be healthier down the line, so that it provides the benefits that we see faster. A healthy canopy is important here in Park Ridge and in your community, but it's important everywhere.
Visit chicagorti.org to take the next step.
Well, thank you for listening to that. We developed that video specifically for mayors and boards of trustees so that we could get our message across that it's important to maintain our trees just as it is any other infrastructure that we have in our community. When you came in tonight on the table up front, there was a little packet. May I borrow this for just 1 second? It looks like this. And I'm going to go through this a little bit with you, but one thing I wanted to talk about up front was we just experienced loss of ash trees in our region, all across the 7-county region, and we've lost 13 million ash trees across the 7-county Chicago area. And if the average diameter of each of those trees was around 10 inches, which was not inconceivable, most of the ash trees on my yard were 20 inches or more, each of those individual trees takes up about 1,000 gallons of water per year. That's 13 billion gallons of water that now has nowhere to go but in your basement or in the middle of the street because those trees are not there anymore. And what it works up to, we have 284 municipalities across the 7-county region, and if we were to take and distribute those gallons of water across each community would have 28 water towers of water that has now got someplace it needs to go in your community. And so we want to really reinforce why caring for trees and specifically selecting species because of this problem we've had with the EAB, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and that's where the project came up here in Dolton that we started 2 years ago with the mayor and staff. We had an opportunity to participate in a research project with Ball State University and DePaul University. They were looking for a community to try out doing a virtual tree inventory, and this virtual tree inventory was using Google Street View. Anybody familiar with that? And they wanted to see how accurate it would be to do a tree inventory that way. And then students from the forestry department at DePaul University then came here and actually did an on-the-ground tree inventory. So we were able to get data specifically on the village of Dolton that now you're able to use in making decisions that will help inform how you manage and care for your trees moving forward. So I'm going to go through a little bit of that with you. First off, the reason that the Chicago Region Trees Initiative was founded by the Morton Arboretum was because in 2010 we did a census of trees across the Chicago region, and we found that we have 157 million trees. 30% of those trees are an invasive species called buckthorn. Anybody know about buckthorn? It's a problem species for us. It's a European species that was brought here in the early 1900s. And then we also know that we have very low species diversity, and this is particularly important for you here in Dolton because when we did our inventory, we found some challenges here for you. We have partners that are working with us on this project with us all across the region, and we count the village of Dolton as a partner with us in helping to improve the urban forest as well. So we have LiDAR imagery that we flew that each of the counties flies. It's a camera that goes in an airplane across. It makes a grid system across the entire surface of the landscape, and that was done in all 7 counties, and it picks up heights. So we get these little point clouds like what this picture looks like here, and it enables us to be able to sort that land cover without having to go on the ground and look at every single community and every single tree into a variety of 7 different land cover classes. And that enables us to be able to identify where we have canopy and where we don't in the region. And Dolton, you'll see here on the map up here, actually is in pretty good shape. You have a higher canopy than the city of Chicago does, but we'll talk about the challenges with that, but really from a canopy standpoint, you're not too bad. We have the ability of going, for each of the communities in the 7-county region, we've developed a canopy packet like the one I brought for you tonight. And it'll tell you how you compare with other communities around you. So if you want to go onto the Chicago RTI website, you can look those up. But in the village of Dolton, you have 26% canopy cover. The national average for metro areas is 40%. Regionally, we have only 18% canopy. So you can see you are doing better than many other areas. This canopy packet that I've given to you talks a little bit about what the canopy analysis is and what the LiDAR imagery is about in the 7 different land classes, which are vegetation, trees, roads and rails, building, paved surfaces, and water. I think I've missed 1 or 2, but it's in your packet there on the first page, I think. When you go to the second page of your packet, it talks about how your land cover is distributed based on your land cover classes. And so we can see you have 26% canopy. There's, but in this, that's on table of the pie chart C on your chart there. And if you look over at D down below, that shows you where you have potential. Your potential is almost twice what you have now. So even if you were to double your canopy cover, we know that canopy cover directly correlates to the benefits that those trees provide to you. So when we were talking about stormwater, for instance, we know that if you higher your canopy is, the less impact you have from stormwater because it can help intercept and make the soils more open so that they can absorb more water. We know that air quality is improved because trees produce oxygen for us, and they also filter pollution out of the air. We know that it improves health. We have a scientist at the University of Illinois who's done research that shows that the presence of trees is actually shown to have a correlation to crime. The higher the tree canopy, the lower the crime. So there's all kinds of analysis that's been done looking at how tree canopy impacts a community. This next chart, which if you're going through your packet, shows you, and I think this is page 3 or 4 in here, it shows you where the most opportunity for improving canopy is, and it's on residential property. So it's your backyard, your front yard, your side yard. It can be even, I think the next one over is transit. So in Dolton, you have a fairly significant transit corridor. So there's opportunities there as well. But it shows you exactly where you can improve canopy. And we've been working with the Village of Dolton on helping to identify that. And then it shows you the percent opportunity that you have to improve your canopy. What's really telling here in Dolton is your species diversity. And why is species diversity important? The ash problem here is you only have 4% ash trees here in Dolton. And that's really very low compared to many other communities around. But what's a problem for you is that 75% of your trees are maples. And there's a little insect sitting in Ohio right now called the Asian longhorn beetle that was here in the 1990s in Ravenswood, and they found it in Ravenswood and cut down all the trees in Ravenswood and were able to eradicate that insect from the Chicago region, and it keeps trying to get back in. The Animal Health Inspection Service out at O'Hare keeps finding this, the larva in packing crates out at O'Hare. So we need to be very vigilant in keeping our eyes out for that plant, but we also need to be thinking about how can we expand your species diversity so that you're not going to lose 75% of your canopy here in the next few years as this insect starts to come into our area. So species diversity is very important for the village of Dolton to think about. Then when we look at age classes, it's been quite a while since the village of Dolton has planted any significant number of trees, and you can tell that from that chart there, which is the next page in your packet. So we need to get tree planting up here in Dolton so that we can restore the canopy, we can begin to replace those maples that'll be aging out, and we can keep the water going into the ground or being intercepted and out of your basements. We ran analysis for just 3 benefits that trees provide here on this table, and it's also in your packet. And I'm going to have to move closer because I'm virtually blind from this distance. Sorry. But air quality, it's, what is it, $500,000 or $600,000 worth of benefits a year that your trees currently provide to you. $617,000. Carbon sequestered is $43,000, and that's the carbon that is actually taken in by the trees themselves. And then stormwater is $181,000 a year that those trees provide for you in stormwater benefits, just here in Dolton alone. When we start looking at climate impacts to our region, we know, I mean, look at this winter so far. I didn't even wear my coat today. We do have an increase in temperature, and because of where we live, we can see extreme fluctuations. We might, in 2 weeks, get 20 degrees below zero here as well. That's just the part of being in the Chicago area, right? So we don't see this constant, but we do know that we are seeing this trend that's inching up in temperature. And this is a heat map that I believe is also in your packet. But it shows you where your canopy is located and where you have heat. Where you have canopy, your temperature is lower. So when you can see the dark orange areas, if you look at the map, and because you live here, you'll be able to say, oh, I know what that is, or oh, I know that's where that transportation corridor runs, that we have that dark orange row that comes down the west side of the city. You'll be able to identify where those are. And if you look at where you have large detention areas or large groups of trees, you'll see that those areas are greener, and the green is designated as a lower temperature, where the orange is a higher temperature. So that's something to think about too. We know that having trees planted around your homes reduces your energy bills. So looking at that from that standpoint, it's important to consider too when you're placing your trees around your property to understand that you will be able to help reduce those expenses as well with the trees on your property. Now, we've talked a lot about what trees can do for you, and because we're coordinating with the work that's going on here in Dolton, I wanted to just point out some of the opportunities that we have available. So one is we have staff that are able to come out to your community and help you build a stewardship base here in your community, where you as residents can help take care of the trees on your property or in public rights of way so that they have a chance of living. So say we get a long drought in the summer, you can help with the watering, or you can help with mulching, or you can advise the resident to help their tree so that it won't die. There's opportunities to do that training here. We have what's called urban forestry basic training. This is an opportunity for your staff to learn basic forestry practices to improve the health of the trees in your community, because the bigger trees are the ones that provide the biggest benefits. If you take out 3 2-inch trees and you've got 1 6-inch tree, that 1 6-inch tree provides 3 times the benefits of all 3 of those little trees combined. So it's an exponential improvement in benefits based on size. So that's an opportunity, and it's virtually free. We charge for lunch. It's a day and a half. We do chainsaw training, and we teach basic forestry. Then there's the Community Tree Network, which is an opportunity for your community to come and network with other communities in the region and learn how they're running their forestry programs, what resources they're getting, and some basic techniques on urban forestry. And those are free, completely free. We have templates available to you for your community, how to develop an urban forest management plan, and we have staff that will come out free of charge and work with you to help you develop a management plan. We have ordinance templates that we can help you strengthen your ordinance, your tree preservation ordinance, or identify incentive opportunities that might be available in your community to help improve your urban forest. We have guides that teach you about selecting trees, and for anybody that's looking to purchase or plant trees on your own property, if you go to the Morton Arboretum website and you put in tree selector, it'll take you to a page where it asks you questions. Where is this tree being planted? And you check the box, the parkway. Is this area impacted by salt? Yes or no. Is this area dry? Yes or no. Do you want fall color? Do you want spring bloom? What things do you want out of that tree? And you click go, and it'll give you a list of species to choose from that are appropriate for that location. So you don't even have to know about what specific species. It'll help you figure that out if you can give enough information. The other thing that we think is really important is working with the nurseries in the area. There's a program called Contract Growing where we can get the trees that you want when you want them at a reasonable price, because we can get you into an arrangement with a nursery, and you pick the nursery and take bids and all that like you would normally do with any project that you would take on in the village. And then you get your prices confirmed for a set period of time. We also have funding opportunities. Right now, we're working with here at the Village of Dolton on a U.S. Forest Service grant. It's not tied to the furlough, so don't worry about that. Where we're actually able to provide, I think it's about 100 trees or 150 trees to be planted here in Dolton this coming spring and fall. And their youth that are doing the work are actually trained by the Student Conservation Association, and they're looking for youth in your community who would be interested in taking a job over the next summer and into early fall, where they can help plant and care for the trees long term. So we're training youth as well as providing an opportunity to increase trees in your community. And I believe the Student Conservation Association has already been out here to meet with you all and your staff here to identify locations for that. We're also interested in increasing public and private partnerships. For the big businesses and those big industrial corridors that you have running through town, there are some entities there that we think that we can connect to that would be able to help support some of the efforts in your community with the urban forest, and also to get trees planted in those heavy industrial areas so that we can help offset some of those impacts. So we want to build those public and private partnerships as well. So in summary, and that slide has got too much on it to be seen from here, there are opportunities that are available to you based on some of the work that's already been done. We know now what species we need to be planting in your community. We know we need to increase planting and get those younger trees in production here so that they're growing and taking off and able to replace that high concentration of maples that you have in your community. We're looking for an opportunity to come out and work with you as residents and organizations within your community, church groups, garden clubs, Rotary, anybody that you have in the community that would be interested in working with us. We would be glad to come out and do a tree walk, help you learn to identify trees, and get you engaged in helping your municipality with caring for trees here in your community. So if there are any questions, I'd love to answer them, and we appreciate the opportunity of working here in the Village of Dolton and for the support we've gotten from the mayor and staff here. It's been great, and we look forward to many more years of good, close relationship to improving your canopy here. Thank you.
Ms. Scott, up here, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned this spring, summer that you have some funding opportunities, and it sounded like you said it was for the youth that you would like to come in and plant 100 to 150 trees.
That's correct.
The young people could get paid for that?
Yes, they are paid for that.
And they're paid through your organization?
Yes, it's through the Student Conservation Association. We partnered with them on that grant.
And how many young people can we get involved?
I think it's only 3 or 4 total.
Oh. Okay.
So it's not a huge number. And they would apply for the position. And then it's not only do they get training on how to plant and care for trees, but they teach them how to do interviews, how to write a resume, those kinds of things. So it's helping them develop more professional skills. And these are grants that come up every year for us that we apply for. So it's not just this year, but if we can get a relationship going here, we can continue to do that here with the Village of Dolton.
And what's the age group of 3 to 4 years?
They're looking for high school graduates and early 20s.
Okay, thank you.
Lydia, it's 1 that's going to be hired immediately. Then it's going to be 5 over the summer for the maintenance of the trees. We've identified some of the youth that's going to participate in that program that had an interest in agriculture and interest in planting trees. As you know, I'm not sure it was last year or year before, we planted, we got 100 trees from the
MWRD?
Yes. And we planted those trees. There's some people here today that participated in the planting of those trees. You know, over the 2 years, one of the things that we reached out to your group is because we didn't have the funding for the additional flooding. So when you mentioned the fact that there was billions of gallons that these trees take in, we thought that was a way to try to help us with some of our flooding situations. We've taken down, or Public Works has taken down, a number of trees that have been infected by the ash beetle, as you mentioned earlier. And so now this is going to help us with the replanting, and some of those trees that were removed in front of the residents' homes. According to your crew, they may have a selection that they can pick out from those different species that they want planted in their front yard. So along with, once those trees are planted, there's some temporary landscaping that's going to be done also around those trees once they're planted. So we appreciate you coming out and helping us with this, and of course with the funding.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And the trees that are coming with the Student Conservation Association are 1.5 to 2 inch diameter trees. They're not the little tiny ones like you got from MWRD. And MWRD would love it if you would come and take more. If we can work with the schools, they're looking for opportunities to distribute them with the schools. MWRD is required by the EPA to increase tree planting and capacity for trees across the Cook County region in order to help offset some of these flooding issues and these stormwater issues. So it's something that they've gotten very invested in, and they've committed to planting or distributing 1 million trees in the next 10 years across the Chicago region. We just established a master plan for the Chicago region, of which you're a part. We need to plant 22 million trees between now and 2050. That's 2 trees for each and every one of us. So each of you folks here be thinking about where you want to plant your 2 trees, and we'll follow up to make sure you're doing it.
Yeah, and we're happy that MWRD selected us. I think we were in the forefront, and we got the biggest grant of all the other communities. One of the things that when we planted the trees before, they were so small and the survival rate wasn't that great, although some of them did survive. But we're happy to have the larger trees now that we're going to be planting, replacing some of the front of the residents' homes that the trees were taken down.
Yeah.
So we
It's the
appreciate
start
it.
of a good friendship, so thank you. Anything else? Thank you for letting me come.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the John Kasparic Group. Have a presentation here to make.
May I be
Trustee
recognized? Thank you. The Kasparic Group, which is an accounting or certified public accountants, we no longer have a finance manager or a finance director, so we needed the Kasparic Group to come in. They've been associated with this village, I believe, for the last 4 to 5 years. Upon coming, they were able to clean up a lot of things in our accounting system. I would like to look for a vote tonight after their presentation for the contract that they're proposing to work to basically restructure the accounting system of our village. We'll have Tim and Chris. Okay, you're close by. And we'll have Tim to do the presentation, to kind of go into detail exactly what the Kasparic Group is, what you plan to do to help us, at least I believe for the next 6 months. Correct. Tim, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me here tonight. I know you have a full agenda, so I will try and be brief. But just to summarize, like Trustee mentioned, with the absence of a finance director, we identified an opportunity that we feel is win-win for the village to, like he said, restructure the accounting department. Due to our experience working with the village, my colleague Chris is here. Many of you recognize him. He's been in and out for quite a while now. We know the village. We know the needs, the strengths, and the opportunities for growth and improvement. And we've identified a number of tasks and responsibilities that we feel we can more than adequately take over. Our vision is to continue our relationship in a more structured manner, and to, again, take over those responsibilities. The specific things that we've identified are listed in the first page of the contract, and they're based on us absorbing not only the responsibilities of the former finance director, but a few other items that we've identified as well. Included in that list, assistance with entering invoices and other accounts payable related tasks, assisting with the processing of payroll both before and after the third-party payroll processor, assistance with entering all the deposits and withdrawals into the general ledger, monitoring your health insurance payments and ensuring that all the withholdings are correct and remittances is happening, assistance with maintaining your utility billing collections and making sure everything is recorded properly in the water and sewer accounts, calculating the monthly real estate allocations, assistance with the preparation of all bank reconciliations for all accounts, and preparing the monthly budget to actual reports. The bottom line, in terms of financial commitment to the village, and this actually, by our calculations, you certainly will not be paying more, and on an annualized basis, it will likely be less than it has been in the past, both with having a finance director and our ongoing consulting work. We've been able to wrap all of this up into a comprehensive package that, based on the proposed monthly fee, should be a lower financial commitment overall than you guys have currently been experiencing. I feel like that summarizes the substance of our contract proposal and the circumstances. At this point, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Tim. Actually, we were considering two companies. The other company that we took under consideration, actually, which is kind of rare for another company to represent the other company that they're competing with. I don't know if you noticed or not, but they recommended we go with the Kasperick Group. And like you said earlier, you guys had a close relationship with us for the last 4 to 5 years. One of the things I would hope that you all would do, and I'm sure you're very familiar with, we just were audited this past audit, and we want to reduce the amount of recommendations in the management letter, and I believe it's the Kasperick Group that helps the accounting, auditing firm, and we like to reduce it as much as possible, and a lot of that you would be addressing as far as internal controls and those type of things. Do you feel in the 6 months or so that you can help to reduce some of those every year that we get a audit report in that management letter?
Absolutely. That's always a function of the village's acceptance of our recommendations, but based on our experience not only with the village itself, but in local governments in this area and in general, we know your auditors, we know the process, we do plenty of audits ourselves, and those internal control measures that we'd be recommending would be targeted directly at reducing the load and the response from your auditors on an annual basis.
And I talked also with John and Chris and Stephanie concerning transparency and independence, because as a certified public accountant, your job is just to bring the numbers together, the facts. It has nothing to do with anything political. What you feel or think is what the numbers are, what they are. Our concern as a board is that can we be as transparent as possible? For example, if there's an interfund transfer, that the board is made aware of it, so that we're not blindsided on the back end that there was money transferred from one fund to another, that we don't have the situations that we currently have based upon the audit's report.
Yeah. We specifically structured the contract to balance the services we provide and our objective independence. We want to maintain a certain level of objectivity so that we can be unbiased, provide you all the facts and circumstances, and the bottom line is you are hiring us. We will do what you need us to do and maintain those open lines of communication at all necessary points.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. If there are no other questions or discussion, I make a motion to approve the contract with the Kasperick Group.
Wayne, let me mention something procedurally. I'm sure Kasperick wants a valid contract. So since all that's on the agenda is presentation, if the board's satisfied with the proposal, then what I would suggest is that we would put the contract on the agenda. You know, you're meeting twice a month.
Next meeting.
And make it, it looks like it's a 6-month deal.
Yes.
So why don't we put it on the agenda for the next board meeting, approve the contract retroactive to 1/1 of 19. So then we've got a clean 6 months, and they're protected for the work that they're doing starting now, if that's okay.
I agree. Okay, so thank you. And so,
any objection to Kasperick?
So we'll see you in 2 weeks, and between
That'll just be for the vote, but in the meantime, full speed ahead on your work.
Certainly. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Communication.
Next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes, village clerk's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I would ask for approval of the minutes, either separately or together, as the trustees prefer, for the November 5th, 2018 regular board meeting, the December 3rd, 2018 regular board meeting, and/or the December 10th, 2018 special board meeting.
I make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes, November 5th, December 3rd, and December 10th, respectively.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so motion is seconded to, for the approval of the board amendments for November 5th, 2018, December 3rd, 2018, and December 10th, 2018. Any discussion? No discussion, roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee House is absent. Trustee Denton absent. Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Thank you. The only announcement I have this evening is to remind everyone that our next regular board meeting, which is typically on the third Monday of the month, falls on the Martin Luther King Day holiday. Village offices will be closed on that day, January 21st, and the board meeting, as per usual, will be the next day, Tuesday, at the regular time, 6:30 on the 22nd.
Okay. Good. Next thing on the agenda is engineer's report.
We have communications as well. I have a communication.
Okay, go ahead.
Recognize. Thank you,
If I may,
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, communications under the village report are communications relayed by the village clerk, but under committee reports, trustees are certainly free to.
Can I be recognized, Mayor, for announcement then?
Yes. Let the record reflect, I didn't see Trustee Henry come in.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, okay. All right, go ahead, Trustee.
Yes. Before I do the announcement, I'd like to ask yourself, Mayor and Madam Clerk, for the past few weeks, I've sent a correspondence asking what is the status of the resolution that was passed over a month ago that was to be sent, and I never got a written response. Could either one of you please answer that?
Yes, Trustee. At the request of the trustee's attorney, I forwarded a copy to Ms. Elliott. I believe it was about 10 days ago.
Okay, but my question is, was the resolution forwarded to the investigative bodies as stated therein the resolution, and was it signed by yourself and the mayor?
It was not signed by the mayor, and my function as clerk is only to witness the mayor's signature. It was not, or I should correct myself and say I did not forward it, as we had a conversation some weeks ago, to the multiple law enforcement authorities that were set forth in the resolution. It was my assumption that when Ms. Elliott asked for the copy that she would be forwarding those out. That may be incorrect, but I can tell you that no, I did not forward them out.
Yeah, well, that, with all due respect, that is incorrect, clerk, because if you read the ordinance, it states that the clerk is to, as a matter of fact, let me read it here. The village clerk, it's in section 2, the village clerk is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Cook County State's Attorney, the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, the Cook County Sheriff, and the Illinois State Board of Elections for investigation. So there is no ambiguity in the resolution that you would send it to the Legislative Council, that this should have been signed by the mayor and attested, of course, by yourself, and sent to those respected bodies. So I'll ask publicly, because I never got a written response. You say you sent it to the Legislative Council, but I'll ask, will that be sent to those bodies as it's stated in the resolution?
As stated in the resolution, it will not be sent. I will not be sending it. I will be happy to forward you a copy, so you may send it yourself.
Okay, so with that being said, and I'm glad this is being public so the residents can see this, We want to report that notwithstanding the mayor's refusal to sign the trustee-approved legislation requiring an investigation into his activities, we were contacted by the Cook County State's Attorney, who has assigned an investigator, an attorney to this case. They requested all the information we had on the various issues, and here are some of the things we submitted to the Cook County State's Attorney Office to investigate the mayor's conduct. The Mayor Rogers' improprieties cost citizens tax dollars. Water damage claim at his property at 14300 Lincoln. This claim cost the village $58,000. The mayor claims he sent workers to this house to verify the water was shut off, but they mistakenly turned it on. The problem with this claim is that it is in the property owner's responsibility to be sure that the water coming into the house is shut off. He used village workers on village time to check on his investment property. Why should village taxpayers, workers, enter his investment property to do anything? Then once inside, the mayor sues the village. Once allowed inside, he sues when something goes wrong. They never should have entered, and the village has no responsibility for property damage by turning on or off water. We all know that the village turns water on or off at the street, not inside the property. The mayor refuses to disclose the insurance company any of the property because it wasn't insured as he stated. And we have provided a report from insurance company, Village of Dolton, posted disclaimer, and proof of ownership to the state's attorneys. And we had to do this because I know that when I didn't get a response from the mayor or the clerk that this would happen, that it wouldn't be forwarded. And as I just read to the residents, Section 2, that the clerk's responsibility was to forward that to the respective bodies that was stated therein on Section 2 of a resolution that was passed over a month ago.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Improprieties regarding the mayor's property at 14914 and 14918 Chicago Road, the mayor's private club used for political purpose. We have provided the state's attorney a copy of the bills, the employees' photos of work, performing work on his properties on the village. We've also sent 50 documents to the state's attorney. If you would like to see it at the end of the meeting, I'll be glad to show it to you. Also, I have copies where the mayor have not paid his water bills using the taxpayers' money. We're paying that water, and the water is still on. Improprieties regarding the mayor's water bills for the village, using the board-up company to board up one of his properties that he owned or owned at 143 Lincoln. We also have sent the state's attorney the invoice to that. If you would like to see any of this at the end of this meeting, I'll be more than happy to show you all written documents, because it's unfair that we, the taxpayers, you, the residents, and the taxpayers, have to pay for your water bill, your property taxes, and the mayor does not do that. That's unfortunate. Thank you.
Mayor, can I be recognized, sir?
No. We're going to move forward.
Mayor, I have the right to a communication.
Okay. That's not communication.
Yes, it is communication. I'm communicating.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Information to the resident.
I'm not going to argue with you. We're going to move forward.
Attorney Murphy.
Because of what you're trying to do here is politically assassinate me.
No, no, sir.
Let me finish. And I have proof that this is all political. I have proof, in fact, that what they're trying to do to me and call an investigation, I would be cleared of any of the things that they have accused me of. So we're going to move forward with this board meeting.
Mayor, you shouldn't mind me reading my communication then.
And the next thing on the agenda is human services.
Trustee, if we look at the agenda, communications on village clerk's report is supposed to be communications that she received. Now, there'll be ample opportunity later on in the meeting for you to, present whatever you want, but if you just look at the concept of the agenda, it's village clerk report, item A, minutes, item B, communications. That means she got a communication from the Salvation Army wanting to have a donut day or something like that. So this is just not the right time under the village clerk report.
Point of information, Attorney Murphy, in its past practice under communication, we have made announcements such as those that you listed, but this is an announcement to the public because we tried to do it internally by getting the information vis-a-vis the clerk and the mayor, and it should be held publicly so that the residents can see through transparency. This is the same thing that happened when I put forth a transparency ordinance, and there was resistance from this administration, just like we're getting resistance now. It's an announcement that's being made by a trustee, and past practices have shown that we have been able to make these announcements, and this is an announcement because it was not followed up by the clerk or the mayor from more than one written response from the Board of Trustees.
Rather than debating this for 20 minutes, my suggestion is that Trustee Pearson put it on in his report. All I'm saying is that this is not part of the clerk's report. I mean, if Robert, you wait 5 minutes, you'll be able to put it, add it, whatever you want to say to your report.
I just thought that it wasn't fair that other trustees were allowed to go ahead and complete theirs, and now I'm not allowed to do it. I can read it as long as I'm able to read it. I just don't want to be told that it's not on the agenda and I can't read it during the committee report.
Dwayne asked, or Trustee Mohammed asked the clerk a question about her duty, and so that was germane to the clerk's report. I'm not sure what your statement is, but I mean, there'll come a time at the meeting.
My statement was clear. It was that Trustee Mohammed and Trustee Stubbs were allowed to read their communication.
All right, we're going to go forward.
Mine during the meeting.
We're going to go forward with this. Now you want to challenge the village attorney. We're going to go forward with this.
Mayor, you can't quiet everybody.
It's not quieting everybody. It's not quieting everybody. This has been beaten over. It's came up in 2 other meetings, and you said you move forward to go to the state's attorney's office. That's fine. That's what it is. But if you want to talk about transparency,
no, I want to
in the next
say that if it was done the right way, we wouldn't be up here talking about it now.
That's fine. You want to talk about transparency? I'm going to present something over the next few weeks before this election. You're going to see how transparent these 3 people are.
Okay, it's not necessary to politicize this. And a point of order.
The next thing
point of information, please.
The next thing on the agenda is human services. Trustee Mohammed, go ahead.
Okay, point of information.
I'm sorry. It's engineer's report. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. That ain't happening this year. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Good evening and Happy New Year to everybody. Mayor, Madam Clerk, and trustees, just a couple of items on my engineer's report. There was a Illinois Housing Development Authority grant that was available. It was due on Friday, December 21st. We submitted that grant online Tuesday, December 18th. That was for $75,000 for reimbursement. That was for maintenance of residential property. That would be demolition, board ups, grass cutting, so forth and so on. The village has been fortunate enough in the past 2 years to receive that reimbursable grant for $75,000 from the Illinois Housing Development, and this grant was for round 4 of that. Also, this month, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, there is a water use audit report that is due each year that shows basically the breakdown of consumption, the amount of water purchased from Chicago, the amount that was sold. It takes in consideration the water loss, and then that report has to be submitted to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for their review. So we're working with the Water Department and the Public Works staff on getting all the information provided and submitting that report this month. That's all I have this evening, and I will entertain any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is committee reports. Trustee Mohammed, Human Resources.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a report from Ms. Barbara Batten, the supervisor of the Dolton Water Department. The total water collections were $530,963.79, and the other collections were $279,602.82. The grand total of collections was $810,566.60. The dollar amount of water bills that are 120 days or more past due is $2,344,329.08. And this is an increase from the previous month of $265,509.51. And we would hope with the coming of the Kasperick Group, this is some of the monies that's due to this village, along with hundreds of thousands of dollars that are out there that has not been collected, such as persons who are delinquent on their real estate taxes, those who refuse to pay the fee for their village stickers, those who have properties who have not paid their water bill or even had their water bill taken off the list and continue to use the village's water, and you and I must pay those bills. The second part of my report is the initiation of an education commission. The village of Dolton has never had an education commission. And what we would like to do in agreement with the NAACP South Suburban Branch, the Education Commission, which is designed by them to provide external educational resources for students, parents, and schools in Dolton, Illinois, and the surrounding areas. This Education Commission are a common part of municipalities' infrastructure, such as South Holland and also, I believe, Country Club Hills, Olympia Fields. The Education Commission will be called the Dolton, Illinois and Surrounding Areas Education Commission. Some of the resources that the Commission is interested in pursuing are student scholarships, celebrating achievement, and external programs like Junior Achievement. And the Commission will be ran by volunteer residents from Dolton. There will be no political involvement in this commission whatsoever. We would hope that the Village of Dolton would help this commission in promoting any programs that it would be doing and using our media services to promote whatever it is they're trying to do, such as surrounding areas who will use the ready-made programs that are available to it. Now, if you'd like to become a member of the Education Commission, I want to leave this number out there. It's 708-888-0344. And what you would do when you call that number, leave your name, your number, and your emailing address. And if someone has a question about this, you bring your information in and I will forward it. If I'm not able to answer your question, I will forward it to Dr. Wells, who is the education chair for the NAACP South Suburban Branch, and that individual will contact you. All we need is about maybe 2 or 3 persons for the commission. They have a template available. We will also put on our website the actual mission, the purpose, and what this commission is all about. Like I say, there will be no political involvement on this. Just think of it as similar to the Police and Fire Commission. No matter who's a trustee up here, no matter who's the mayor, it has nothing to do with this commission. So again, if you need any more information, you can call us at 708-888-0344. And if you have any questions at the end of the meeting or at citizen's address, I'll be more than happy to answer it. And that is my report for the Human Services. Thank you, Mayor.
Next thing on the agenda is planning. Trustee Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming to the meeting. I'm excited to give you some great news this evening. I want to stress about this program that we got that the whole community is excited about. You guys want to buy properties, and I have created a way for you to do so. But first, I'm going to start with Denise's housing report. Housing counts for December 1st through December 31st of 2018 as follows. She did 30 property transfer tax, 68 transfer tax, 7 sale inspections, 31 as-is sales, 20 quick claim, 11 judicial deeds, 1 trust deed, 1 tax deed, 2 deed in lieu, 20 rental licenses, 22 rental inspections, 83 vacant property permits, 12 tenant water deposits, 22 escrow deposits, 12 escrow release inspections, 12 escrow refunds, 3 grass board up invoices, 28 housing tickets processed. The total was $385, and the total revenue collected was $77,658. She went a little further and broke it down as follows. 2018 housing report, single family homes, multi-unit buildings, and commercial properties sold for 2018 was 472. 462 single family homes were sold, 6 commercial properties were sold. The highest price sold was $194,900 for a single family home in the village of Dolton. May 1st through November 30th of 2018. This is the vacant property registrations. This is the money, the revenue we collected. Year to date, $143,439. Okay, that concludes the report for Denise Fields, our housing director. Next, you guys, if you guys are homeless or need help in the village of Dolton, if you stand in any abandoned property, which you should not, you're considered a squatter. Here is some resources for you guys to reach out to this organization and basically seek shelter. This address is, what is it? 6634 West Roosevelt, 2nd floor, Oak Park. The phone number is 708-338-1724. Again, that number is 708-338-1724. And this is in Oak Park. It's a walk-in center for people that's homeless. Also, another one is Together We Cope. They are located at 17010 Oak Park Avenue in Tinley Park. That phone number is 708-633-5040. Again, that number is 708-633-5040. All right. Next, Mayor. One thing I have sent out was an email regarding a squad car that one of your administrations was driving, and I haven't gotten a response. Do you know what that vehicle is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you want to respond to where? Can we use it for housing, for a housing inspector?
No, that vehicle is going to be used for some other activity.
All right.
As far as I know, and speaking with Matt, Pete Zenos, and Brian Thigpen, all the inspectors have cars now that are in good shape that they're using.
Well, they're not in good shape, and one of the housing inspectors have wrote a report stating that the the vehicle is breaking down, which is a hazard, and we want to keep our employees safe. So I'm advocating for that individual to have a vehicle if possible. If not that vehicle, a vehicle that's better than the one they currently have.
Okay, where did the report go? Because I didn't see it.
They just sent it today, this report. It was in my mailbox today.
Okay.
So I will forward this to you. Okay. But we do need a vehicle, so that's why I was asking about the vehicle in question.
Okay. Why don't you forward that to Brian Thigpen and Matt Stacy, and if it needs repairs, it'll be taken care of. That's usually the procedure.
Mayor, can I be recognized? Part of that committee.
Trustee Henry is still on a report. Go ahead, Trustee Henry.
Okay. I just want to give you guys a breakdown of the housing program. I called it block by block housing program. I wanted to pass this out today, but it's basically the same thing that I've been advocating for, I've been verbally speaking of. It basically breaks down the free houses and the dollar houses. And then we have a separate program that's say 5,000, which is owner occupied homes. Just to give you a breakdown how the free and the dollar houses work, they're geared towards investors. Don't get me wrong. Homeowners can purchase the houses, but I know majority of the people don't have $20,000 sitting in their bank account because those houses need the most work. So say for instance, it can have holes in the roof, it has raccoons, animals living in it, furnace stolen, anything like that, and it can get costly. These qualification goes as follow. And this I did discuss with the board. The board was in agreement with this when I did put it together. So right now we're still structuring and adding to this. So free and the dollar houses. Qualifications: proof of funds. You got to show that you have $20,000 in a bank account. You have to use a licensed and bonded contractor in the village of Dolton. You have to pull a 90-day permit. You have to basically get both inspections, which is the initial inspection that you get when you purchase the home, and then the second inspection to say you can sell the property. Additional fee if inspection is failed. Escrow is only $1,000. There's a lottery, and the reason why we did lottery is because a lot of people don't have a lot of money. So I didn't want someone to get outbid because somebody has big bank take little bank per se. I want it to be fair. That's the only way we can come up with it being fair. It would be a split of 75% to the investor and 25% to the village. I always give the example of if you have $120,000 you sold the property for. You put $20,000 into the property. You, the investor, will get the $20,000 back. Therefore, it's $100,000 left. The $100,000 will be split amongst you and the village. So you will walk away with $75,000 and the village will walk away with $25,000. Now, I'm not going to get technical as far as, it's closing costs and other things associated with it, but I just try to do simple math so people can follow. And then also budget for the unforeseen. So I always try to educate because people jump in this game and don't understand it. So budget, because you never know. You can open up a wall and oh my God, you will have a ton of plumbing, a ton of electric to do. You never know. So just budget for it. And of course, investor must sell property. You cannot keep the property. You cannot rent the property out. We are trying to basically put homeowners back in these properties. Just so y'all know the goal of us up here, the board. The board wants home ownership. We don't per se want renters. But I am talking to Section 8 who turns renters into homeowners. So if they want to come off of Section 8 and purchase a house, that's perfectly fine. And then also I put just on here a suggestion, hire a private inspector. And the reason being, I had purchased the house and I looked, when I went to go view the property, I thought the property was okay. I didn't see that the property was tilting. And what that means is it was sinking. The foundation was sinking. And then when I called somebody out, it cost me another $10,000, $15,000 to jack the house back up. So I'm just giving you examples of things that we don't see, but the inspector might catch so that it can save you some money. The next program was the $5,000 houses. That is owner occupied. And the reason why they're $5,000 in your houses is not $1 or free is because it barely needs any work. These are the property that needs like cosmetic work, such as paint, flooring, simple things that you, I feel, the resident can afford. The qualifications is must be a Dolton resident, must live in the house for 5 years, which most board members wanted. Before we was at 3, so we increased it to 5 years. Must complete repairs in 90 days. Must pull a permit, which is a 90-day permit. Also, same restrictions. Housing inspections. You got your initial and your final. And then if you fail, you have to pay more money. Escrow is only $500. That's the money you put up before you get to pull the permit. A lottery, of course, so we'll put your name or a number in a hat and we will pull it out, and then whoever gets it wins it. Because again, if I make it a bid process, that resident would not be able to purchase, because say the next person might pull their 401k and got $40,000 and you saved your income tax money and you might only have $5,000. So to make it fair, again, it would be a lottery. Budget for the unforeseen. Once again, hire a private inspector, and then we would like the homeowner to go through a training to basically maintain the property and also get an annual inspection. So basically trying to educate throughout the process, but we're trying to make it fair that everybody would benefit from it. And hopefully you guys, you saving your money. I got a ton of calls. A lot of you guys said you're saving your income tax money and you're ready to purchase now. The attorney, I did speak with him earlier today, and he is in the process of working on this, and we're supposed to meet tomorrow to get a better what would you say, Murphy? A better understanding of where we're headed.
Well, a few months ago, the board passed a general motion to do RFP for this sort of thing. Trustee Henyard's outlined a draft of something. I'm going to meet with her, but anything with all these specifics has to be approved by the board.
Okay, and when he came up with that, me and him went back and forth today about another approval. I did get board approval for a RFP, which we have done in the past, and then we normally structure it like we're doing now and then put it out there to the resident. But it has already been approved by the board, so I don't understand why now he's saying I have to put it back up for another vote. It's already in motion. I've been talking about it for the last 2 months. I would say. And now here we are at the nitty gritty. I don't want the board nor the attorney to stop this process, residents. So if you guys will help me out with this and make sure you speak on it, it's already in the works. We already are hitting the ground running. You guys are excited, and there's no other way than to advertise this throughout our community and rebuild Dolton, that you guys are investing your money back in. I don't want the board to stop this, because right now you guys are basically encouraged to basically save your dollars and reinvest it back in the community, and that's what I want to see here in the village of Dolton. Okay, Murphy, the last thing on here, attorney, we also talked about if you wasn't going to move your feet, that we put an RFP out to hire a different firm to handle the situation, which is removing the back taxes off of the properties. We have over 400 vacancies in the community. You guys also called and gave me other addresses to look into, which is it's 4 units, it's commercial property, it's all kinds of things you guys have been reporting. I did talk to the attorney, again, as you hear what he's saying. I'm saying the opposite. It has been approved. I did call a different attorney today when he told me I had to put it back up for vote, and that attorney said I do not, because we already voted for RFP, which we did. When he tried to write his RFP, he basically wrote it where it just was structured towards the investor. That's not what I want, or the board. The board and I want it to go towards the homeowner. That's what I wrote. So when I wrote this, I reached out to every board member up here and let everybody put their input in. They all did, even the ones that didn't vote for it. They all chimed in, and we all was in agreement with what I have on this paper. So that's where we are, you guys. And then when did you tell me the properties will be ready, Attorney Murphy? You said April?
I said I'd try to get the document available for board approval in February.
Okay, so
acquisition of a property under a program like this would take easily 60 to 90 days.
Correct. So that's April, correct?
90 days is April, is the middle of April.
Okay. Well, there you guys have it. The program is still going forward. I don't understand what the attorney's talking about now, but that's where we are. If you got any questions, please come to Citizens Address. Ask me whatever you like, but this is where we are with this program. Thank you.
Does that conclude your report?
It does.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is Departmental Operations Trustee Stubbs.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year's. Public Works Productivity Report for December 2018. I just want to state before I read this report that was put together by Matt Stacy, Public Works Manager, that every time I read this, I always ask the Public Works Department, Matt Stacy, to give me addresses to go along with the information. And that have not happened. It have been promised, but it have never, ever happened. Public Works has installed, checked, and repaired 15 street lights and 10 street signs. And I asked this question about the location, so when a resident called me and asked me about a particular light, if they have repaired it, I can let them know that they repaired that on such and such a date. That's why I asked. Public Works has cut down 8 dead trees and trimmed 18 trees. Public Works has repaired 18 B boxes, 3 water service leaks, and 9 water main breaks. Public Works has checked, cleaned, and repaired 12 sewers. Public Works has been out repairing potholes throughout mapped area. SWAT was out on December 3rd collecting trash all along the village streets. Public Works has worked on shutoffs for delinquent properties. We have successfully shut off 44 properties. We found 21 properties that are dig jobs. 9 properties have made payment arrangements with the water department. We also had 1 emergency shutoff. And while we're talking about shutoffs, I asked for a copy of shutoffs, and nowhere on the shutoff list do I see the address at 149, 14, or 18 Chicago Road, Nats, They don't have, they're receiving water, but they don't receive, the mayor don't receive a bill. So I don't see it on the shut-off list. Also, I have a shut-off list of businesses. This have every business that's in the village of Dolton. I don't see that piece of property, Nats, on Chicago Road at all. I don't know if that's combined or not. JJ's Food and Liquor at 633 Sibley Boulevard, and you have Wilma's that's adjacent to that. So I don't know if that's two different lines, two different meters, or is it on 1 meter? So.
Like you say, you don't know.
So.
You got the information from the water department, didn't you?
Sir, I should be getting it from you.
Yeah, you don't need to be getting it from me.
Getting this from you.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
Thank you, sir.
You're gonna lose this one.
Excuse me, sir. This is my report.
You're gonna lose
this is not my report, sir. Thank you very kindly.
Right.
I'm just reading facts, black and white.
Yeah.
Documentation.
You got the wrong information.
Okay. You paid it.
I don't own J&J Liquors.
I didn't say you did.
Okay, then what are you reading it for? Trying to accuse me of it being
I'm not trying to
being
accuse
liable
you
for that
of anything.
debt.
Are you guilty? Okay, this is my report. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm not interrupting you.
Right. You get my response.
Thank you very kindly. Point of order, Mayor.
Yeah.
Public Works has worked on shut-offs for delinquent properties. I read that. Public Works mechanics have serviced 5 police department vehicles, 2 fire department vehicles, 2 housing department vehicles, and 21 public work vehicles and plow trucks, along with miscellaneous jobs. This is just a reminder. Please put your garbage out the night before your garbage pickup date, along with any debris you may have. Tree branches will be picked up by Public Works throughout the winter season. Also, if you see any water coming up from the ground, please call our dispatch center with an accurate address at 708-201-3240. Again, that number is 708-201-3240, and I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Mayor, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Trustee Pearson.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, residents, for coming out tonight. I'm going to read the communication I had for earlier. Improprieties regarding the mayor's residence. The mayor hasn't paid his property taxes. He is claiming an owner-occupied exemption for the property, but he is not the listed owner. The owner is a Village of Dolton police officer who reports only to the mayor and not to the police chief and performs no police duties. Since he does not report to anyone with authority to assign him police duties, some believe it could be a ghost payroll. Does the mayor even pay this guy rent? We have forward real estate tax records and other data showing this relationship. In addition, the trustees are requesting that the state's attorney obtain 3 years of work records for this employee. Next, the mayor owns this property but does not live here. He is claiming an owner-occupied tax exemption. This is for a different property than where he lives, 14626 Atlantic. We have provided the state's attorney with land records and tax information showing that this is fraud. Improprieties regarding Club 1. The mayor allowed Club 1 to illegally be open for business. This property failed an inspection on April 3rd of 2017 and should not have been open on May 14th of 2017. When 5 people were shot at this club, a registered sex offender was operating this club. This is a reminder that the mayor owes over $340,000 in property taxes, and since he doesn't pay, we all have to pay taxes to support the operations of this village. He doesn't pay towards his own salary, we do. The mayor doesn't pay for maintaining his property. He uses village workers, and we, the village taxpayers, pay for it because he doesn't pay his property taxes. The mayor files false claims with and recovers, costing the village $58,000, which was paid with the insurance premium tax dollars, which we all pay. He doesn't pay at all. And the mayor allows free water for his delinquent and closed water accounts, while we all in this room must pay our own water bills, and we are subject to shutoffs. And this should be illegal, and it is not fair. From Police Chief Collins, Dolton Police Preliminary Statistical Report for 2018. The Dolton Police Department completed 25,874 calls for service, arrested 680 subjects, issued 2,580 traffic citations, and issued 5,316 parking citations. That was 5,316 parking citations. It makes you wonder why people don't just buy stickers and park legally and do the right things. In 2017, the numbers were arrested subjects 869, 1,665 traffic citations, and 3,692 parking citations. So that was a big increase in the traffic citations and the parking citations. The total for 2017 was 24,442. Project Connect Community Policing Meetings. The community policing meetings will begin again on Thursday, January 31st. The meeting will be held in the Village Hall at 7 o'clock p.m. The meetings will continue on the be held on the last Thursday of every month, and during the warm months, we had quite a few people come out, but near the end, it sort of dwindled down. I'd like to see as many people come out because Chief Collins puts a lot of effort into having this program for us. This is one of the things we asked him to start when he first came, and he said that he would definitely do it. And the participation, you would think, would be great, because this is where you get to come and talk about anything that you want to talk about to the police chief, and you don't have to do it in public. He has officers available before and after if you want to talk on the side or you got an issue you want to deal with. But it's a great program, and I would like to see everybody come out. From Chief Dyer of the Dolton Fire Department, there was fires. This is January 1st to December 31st. Fires for the year 233. Motor vehicle accidents 278. Emergency medical services 3,105. Hazardous conditions 164. Fire service calls 278. Fire alarms 408. Severe weather and natural disasters 1. Technical rescues 4, and incident reports in progress 0, for a total incidents of 4,471. And I want to say congratulations to the 3 firefighters we had. These firefighters were hired with the hopes of reducing overtime and making it where the firefighters that we currently had don't have to work so much overtime. There was a lot of overtime, which cost the taxpayers money, but also have firefighters working 2 and 3 days in a row, and their day is a 24-hour day. So these 3 firefighters should help a lot. We do need 3 more. We are going to try to make that happen over the next few months, but we can only make that happen if we don't increase the budget. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have.
Trustee Muhammad, Finance.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Before I do my finance report, I have to state a question to yourself and the clerk concerning our ordinance on transparency. I told in our finance meeting that I would bring it to the clerk. When will the ordinance, our transparency ordinance, be updated? We still do not have posted the audit that was done for the 2018 fiscal year, and also other information is not posted. I think the last update on the portal was the scheduling for 2019. I again asked this in a correspondence and got no response, and I'd like to ask you publicly, Madam Clerk, Mayor, when will the portal for our transparency ordinance be updated?
Well, you know, I haven't looked at it. I don't know where it's at right now. I can say that it probably would have been updated if you guys hadn't laid off our media person who does that. And right now he's on a contractual basis. We don't know whether or not you guys are going to approve what he does now or not for him getting paid. So I can say that probably it was a delay in him getting laid off to get that updated.
Well, again, Mayor, you politicize almost every answer.
That's not politically.
If you would let me respond,
That's
sir.
fact.
Okay. As you know, and as the individual that's doing this, he's got about a $2,000 invoice that's on our warrant list. And it is detailed of the work that he's done, such as your Coffee with the Mayor, recording our events, and doing updates on the website. I would like to ask the clerk again, when will the ordinance be complied with and update this information, because residents are complaining that they're not able to see the audit report that was just recently done, the other reports that we bring to the public. When will they be published on our transparency ordinance portal?
Like you said, he has a $2,000 invoice that has not been paid. Now, it's up to the board tonight to pay him for his work that he's done. Before he goes forward, he wants to be assured that he gets paid. So, and I'm going to say there's probably a delay, and I might ask Ed to come up and speak. There's probably been a delay because of the fact of him being laid off. So you can't expect work to be done when you lay off the people that do it.
How's everybody doing tonight? Since we don't want to politicize this is political. The reality is, Trustee Muhammad hasn't asked about the transparency ordinance. I updated October 1st, the day I was laid off. So he hasn't asked about the transparency ordinance before that, and this is the latest thing. So as soon as she emailed it to me, I'll update it. So that's just not a problem. But to bring it out public, as soon as she emailed me, I'll update the website, like I have been updating the website. But to act like you're so concerned about the transparency ordinance, which you never asked about it in the past 6 months. So now it's so important, man. That's political.
Let him finish. Okay, again, this was addressed not to an independent contractor or a former employee. This was to the clerk. It's the clerk's responsibility to update the transparency ordinance for those items to be published for the public. Now, all the clerk would have to do, and I don't want to tell her job, is to give that instruction to Mr. Steve or whomever and get it published. There's been residents that have complained about this. They've come to public address and asked about it. I promised those individuals at our last finance meeting I would bring it to the clerk, and I've yet to get a response from the clerk. When will the portal be updated? Because it is not the responsibility, from my understanding, of a contractor to update the public information for the public to have on our website. So do we know when that date will be?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, no, we do not, Trustee. As the Mayor pointed out, since Mr. Steve is now a contractor, he basically does as he can and as he is paid for. As far as the clerk's responsibility to update the transparency ordinance, we had that conversation when the transparency ordinance was passed, and I was very clear at that time that given my other responsibilities, it was unrealistic for the board to expect the clerk to maintain a website with day-to-day, week-to-week records. I am happy to forward the audit to Mr. Steve, who can get it up when he can get it up. There seems to be some misunderstanding that I am a webmaster. I am not. Anything that is on the website is put up by Mr. Steve, some of which is at my request. And I'm happy to forward the audit, which has been available here at the Village Hall, of course, for residents. And to my knowledge, no one's asked for it. Secondly, as far as your emails, I'd like to point out one thing. The emails that you talk about, one, you did not send me one on the transparency ordinance that I saw. Forgive me if I missed it, because most of your emails come in over the weekend and over the past few weeks over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. So I don't mean to be rude, but there's a reason they call them holidays.
Well, thank you for your public response, but again, we wouldn't even have to have this public response. As you stated, if you would just respond, and of course I CC'd it to the mayor, with a BCC to all the board so that no one can say that they didn't receive it. And I appreciate your honesty that you did receive the emails, but all we're asking for is for these items to be posted on our website, and if you would, as you have done in the past, forward it to Mr. Steve. He can submit his invoice like he's done in the past. And Mayor, you inferred that there was some stalling on his money. This is the first invoice that has been presented to this board on the current warrant list. There has been no stalling payment, as you stated, for this or any other payment that will be considered tonight for payment. So thank you for your response, and I'll go into my other part of my finance meeting.
You have a good way of putting words in people's mouth. I never said it was stalled. I said he hasn't been paid. And he'd like to make sure that he's paid. And tonight it's on the finances, on the warrant list for him to be paid. And if he gets approval to get paid, he would have a little bit more, I guess, reason to believe that he needs to go forward and continue to do work. So,
well, again,
Mayor, I never mentioned anything about stalling. Why don't you just go ahead and continue with your report?
I'll continue with my report, and I'll continue with what I'm about to say. You're inferring that the young man would not be paid. Anybody can see what your inference was. If an individual does work and that's legitimate for this village, and the board approves it, will it be approved like any other work? The reason why I bring up the transparency, we had a board, a finance committee meeting, and it's every fourth Wednesday at 5 p.m. where we discuss the audit and the management letter. We got a very low attendance because we are not able to use the email blast to get the word out to the public. My understanding, I don't know if it's past practice or it's one of those archaic practices that we continue, that anytime a meeting is posted, it's posted on the window outside. Everybody is not going to come up to the board to look at a notice on the window to see what type of meeting it is, whether it be a committee meeting, a regular board meeting. The most modern way to do this is the same way that you did it, Mayor, when you did your turkey giveaway. When you gave away, I believe you said over 1,000 turkeys, and you used the Village of Dolton's resources. We're asking that we use those same resources in promoting committee meetings or promoting anything that the village trustees are doing in reference to the Village of Dolton. A duly law holding meeting. So that's the purpose of me mentioning the transparency ordinance. And I would hope for the future, Mayor, that we can use Channel 4, Channel 99, and the email blast. Now, what I was told that to get the email blast, that they did not have access, that comes out of your office. And of course, I sent you the email also, and I hope you tell me that you didn't receive it, because I also BCC the entire board, because in the past you would say how you never received an email, but I make sure it's emailed to everyone. So I'll ask publicly.
Why don't you go forward with your committee report? We don't need all the grandstanding. Just go forward with your committee report.
I'll ask publicly.
Just go forward with your committee report. You want to delay this meeting.
I'll ask publicly.
Our residents are sitting here. You want to delay this meeting to grandstand. And you talk about it's not political, and it's absolutely political. You know, don't tell me about an email blast that the mayor's office has developed that you want to use. You know, you tried to block everything out of the mayor's office. You stripped the mayor's office of all the people and the relationships that they've had with our residents and produce information for our residents. You stripped the village of the newspaper. You know, you want to damage everything on your way out because you know you're not going to be here after April. You want to destroy everything on your way out.
Let me know.
You're the one that's going to suffer. February 26th, you're going to see.
Mayor, can I finish my report, please?
what
And
you
you get
gotta
off
do.
your political.
Do what you gotta do.
Okay, I would like to finish if you would stop interrupting me. As I mentioned, for the finance report, which is every, the Finance Committee meeting is every fourth Wednesday. Of course, we had some challenges, as the clerk alluded to, because of the holidays, persons not being here. So we didn't have that Finance Committee meeting until this past Friday, and I suggest everyone who is viewing this and everyone at home to watch it. It is on the website. I can't tell you if it's on Channel 499 or not, but I do know it's on the website, and I would urge everyone to look at that to get a breakdown of the finances of this village. And we're in dire finances because of this. It's going to take about at least 5 to 6 years to get us out of the hole, and thank God we got the Caspera Group, an independent agency that will come on board that will not be intimidated or influenced by other sources on where money is coming from and where it should go. So I would ask for the future Finance Committee meetings that we could have our meetings published vis-a-vis the email blast. Now, you mentioned, Mayor, that that is your email blast, but Mr. Steve can attest that many of those email contacts were given to the mayor's office through the Melanie Fitness Center, which were 100 or so emails. We would just like to get word to the residents of any public meeting that we would have in the future, and that's every fourth Wednesday at 5 p.m. for the finance meeting. And I urge everyone to look at Channel 499 and also the Village of Dolton website to see the Finance Committee meeting so that you can know the financial situation of the Village of Dolton, where we went over the management letter and we also went over the annual report, or what's called the audit report. And that is my report for finance. Thank you, Mayor.
Special events, Trustee Henry.
I'll make it brief. The cancer walk, you guys, I want to start that early. So if anybody want to help out with that so it can structure and it can be way better than last year, please contact me at 708-297-6859. Again, my cell is 708-297-6859. And by the way, I do keep my cell phone on me now, so I do pick up. You can text me, email me, or call me. Thank you.
Trustee Henry, I got one question in regards to the cancer walk. Yeah. The years before, when the cancer walk was done, the money that was collected was sent to the American Cancer Society. I noticed that the last couple of years that your cancer walk, you had the money sent to a church or given to a church. I don't see the logic behind that.
Well, okay, I can answer that. The logic behind that is because this village or people that work here have their hand in a cookie jar, and I wanted the people to benefit and have the funds available to them, and not say we co-mingled them or they was in the water fund. I want the people to benefit from having an actual cancer walk. So I set it up with Pastor Fletchman, which you know about that already, the entire board do, and so do the residents of Dolton. If anybody need any funds, any medicine, anything, just want to go out, want to need to buy a wig, anything, they can go reach him, and basically the funds will be given to them, as always.
Okay, how are we going to co-mingle the money if the checks are made out directly to the American Cancer Society?
Just like how residents write their check here to pay the water bill, and that money just automatically disappear. Same situation. You asked me how. I'm telling you why I did it and why I try to restructure it so that the residents will benefit from it. They will receive the money. I did not want the money to be missing. So I have done that for the last 6 years. You and I both been on this board. So it's crazy how that's a question now when it's been done like that every single year. And it's something I initiated. And half of the time, you didn't even show up to the council walk. So I don't understand what's the question.
We've raised, and we've had for 3 years, the cancer awareness program at Coffee with the Mayor. And on several years, we've raised over several $1,000s. Those checks were wrote directly to the American Cancer Society, and the American Cancer Society person picked those checks up and took them to their I don't
headquarters. Know if you're looking for a congratulation or what, but you know I'm an entrepreneur, and I think and believe in building your own program. I know, and I'm answering, I'm responding. So you making it as though that's great. That's great news. That program has been around for years. So why can't we as a community build our own program, so when those funds run out, they have somewhere else to go and get funds. That's what my vision was. So, and that's what I have accomplished over the last 6 years. I know, but I'm just telling you, because it sounds as though you're trying to throw darts. But
I'm not trying to throw darts. I just asked a question.
I'm just saying, why the question now? I have initiated this for the last 6 years, haven't had a problem.
Where's the accounting?
So if you want to donate some money or at least participate or support it, that would be nice, Mayor. I have not seen you there. And the residents did ask for you last year, and you wasn't there. So maybe you'll show up this year.
I got pictures where I was at the year before.
The year before,
but
you didn't come last year.
Year I was at a funeral.
You wasn't at a funeral. You was campaigning. That was more important than coming and support. So stop it.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay. I'll let the person know whose funeral I attended that you said I wasn't there. But, okay, next thing on the agenda is corporate bills.
I make a motion to pay the corporate payments of register number 135 of $624,834 with a gross payroll of $335,663.69, with Melanie Fitness Center register number 135 of $7,430.75 with a gross payroll of $2,571.38. Total corporate payments $970,499.82. Can I get a second, please?
Second, to pay the corporate bills of $970,449.82.
It's been moved to pay the corporate bills and the amount that was stated. It was also seconded. Any discussion on the corporate bills? Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House is absent. Trustee Denton is absent. Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Hedren.
Aye.
Motion passed. 4 ayes. Okay, next thing on the agenda, old business, ordinance number 19-001, adopting certain provisions of the State of Illinois Motor Vehicle Code and providing for administrative adjudication, yes, and penalties within the Village of Dolton. Chief Collins.
I presented this a few months ago. Basically, it's the IVC, the Illinois Vehicle Code equipment violation section that we want to adopt as our own, so that when we write citations, we don't have to split the revenue with the state and with the county. So in a sense, if someone gets a broken windshield ticket, Dolton, the Village of Dolton, will receive all of that revenue. So what we're hoping is that we can also increase revenue as we start issuing citations to the violators out there without having to divvy up that money.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 19-001.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve the ordinance number 19-001. Any discussion? No discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion passes 4 ayes. The next thing on the agenda is the cancellation of the agreement with BP Capital. As you know, BP Capital was given the awarding of all the vacant houses here in the Village of Dolton by this board. And one of the biggest things that this board has always harped on is about the revenue. We're in dire needs of revenue. So, I need a microphone. So what I wanted to show tonight was the fact that we've had plenty of opportunities to get revenue here in the Village of Dolton. And this board, these 4 members up here, had voted to give, without an RFP, BP Capital the warning of over 400 vacant houses to get rid of at their disposal. Also saying this is putting them back on the tax rolls. But what I want to say is that I've been approached by at least 2 investors, which one said they would give us at least $20,000 per house. $20,000 per house. So if we just took 100 houses, if you can see this, 100 houses times 20,000 equals, what's it equal? Anybody know? $2 million. $2 million, okay? $200 houses times 20,000 equals $4 million. Okay? 300 houses times 20,000 equals $6 million. Now, we're at $8 million worth of debt for the water department, for water, with the city of Chicago. City of Chicago says if we pay as we've agreed, they will knock off $2 million in penalty. So instead of using these houses to gain revenue, which the majority of these houses that have been taken and want to be sold by BP Capital, and they're suing me to sign the deeds, we gave them away without any revenue. So I'm saying the 400 houses give us $8 million, which we can pay our debt, but this board chose to give them away for free and raise your taxes. Now, when you have something of value, see, if it was your home, would you give it away free? Would any of you give it away free? This is how we can get out of debt with the city of Chicago. But somehow, some way, they chose to give these houses away free, and we don't get a dime, and talk about putting them back on the tax rolls. Well, putting them back on the tax rolls, even if we sold it to investors for $20,000 apiece, they eventually go back on the tax rolls, but we're not going to see any of that revenue for a minimum of 2 to 3 years. So I'm asking this board tonight to cancel that agreement with BP Capital. Probably won't happen. But as you can see, this is a way for us to get out of debt with the city of Chicago. Matt. So I'm asking for a motion tonight to cancel the contract with BP Capital, and if we have to, put it out for RFP, but certainly we have something here of value that can help us get out of debt.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Discuss it if you don't second it.
You can say, I'll second it.
Okay.
What's the motion though?
I just said the motion was
I know he didn't say. He just said he motioned it. So he motioned.
It's a motion to cancel the agreement with BP Capital.
Okay, second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to cancel agreement with BP Capital. Discussion.
Yes, Mayor. May I be recognized?
Go ahead.
May I borrow your marker? You have one down here?
Here you go. You can take this one.
You got a microphone too.
Here we go.
Well, I have a loud voice.
No, get a mic. It won't be recorded unless you got a mic.
Thank you so much. Okay, residents, let's do this. In the event, and you can look it up with the BGA, Better Government Association, and also this is information that you can also pull up, you can forward it. If the village of if the mayor owed $340,000 in taxes and he pay zero, that means the village of Dolton get absolutely nothing, and we could have used some of that money because we get a percentage. Not only do the village get a percentage, the park district get a percentage, the library get a percentage, and the school district get a percentage of this $340,000 that the mayor owed in back taxes, and the taxes have been served. So now we get zero. So, also, water bills. If you pay your water bill, I'm paying my water bill, the rest of the residents are paying their water bill, and the mayor is paying zero. Nothing from nothing leaves what? Nothing.
You gotta have something.
So therefore, you know, it's hard for me to sit up here and listen to a leader that don't pay his taxes, that go out and buy property, those same houses, put people in it, charge them rent, collect the rent, and don't pay taxes. So it's hard for me to actually even entertain the thought of what he's talking about, because he's doing us, and then he's blaming it on the trustees. He need to look in the mirror. You paying your taxes, I'm paying mine. And it's not fair to us. So be careful on who you listen to. Thank you, residents. I love you. Pass the word. $340,000, we could have kept Mr. Steve on. With the water bills, we could have kept employees on. We could have did a whole lot of things. So therefore, pass the word. And he need to be a leader and start leading and pay his bills. Thank you.
Mayor, can I be recognized, please?
No, I'm going to respond to that.
Mine I paid, all of them. Right. Taxes, water bill.
Right.
God say don't owe no man nothing but to love them.
Right.
And my bills are paid. You can check mine.
Okay.
Anytime. Right. And my credit.
Right. The you put down houses or property that I have sold that other people are obligated for. You put down water bills that I have tenants who are responsible for, and I've indicated that to the water department. Just as some other members here have investment property and they have tenants that are responsible for that waters. So when it all comes out, I'm going to take my legal resources against those perpetrators. All I'm going to say is that you're looking at right there a way for us to gain $8 million to pay off the city of Chicago and not have taxes raised. And this board has never addressed that, and they've given away two of our biggest assets were also two of our biggest liabilities. That's the Melanie Center and the Dorchester. Years ago, when I advocated to sell the Dorchester, some members on this board refused to sell it for a higher value than what we've sold it for. We just closed on the Dorchester in the past 2 weeks, and we had an offer of $7 million at that time with a $100,000 down payment at the board meeting, and now we just sold the Dorchester for $2.6 million. We lost money on that deal.
Who are those members, Mayor?
Can I be recognized, Mayor?
No, I'm talking. No.
Who are those members?
The other issue, I said some members on this board.
I'm asking, who are those members?
Right.
Because the only one that was a member at the time was me, and I voted to sell the Dorchester every time it came up.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else was voted to not do that. That don't sound right. I've never heard that figure.
And now you want to give the Melanie Fitness Center away for $350,000 and have us finance it when we got appraisal on it for $800,000.
Man, stop telling the people.
That's not good business. It's not good business. So there's been many ways for this board to gain revenue and this village to gain revenue, and it hasn't been done.
It's not true.
Yeah,
Can I be recognized, Mayor?
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
No, they're in discussion, sir.
We're in
You
discussion,
can't-
Mayor.
We can't put a motion on the floor, Mayor, and then you become a dictator and you shut down discussion. You go up and you do your dog and pony show, and the trustees should have input on discussion.
You've
You
had
can't just shut
input.
the discussion down.
Okay, go ahead.
because you
Go
don't
ahead,
like
say
hear
what
the
you want to
truth.
say. It's
Okay, I have
reality.
some questions for you,
Why
sir.
aren't we getting any money from BP
I have
Capital?
some questions for you. You said
Go
that you
ahead.
had two investors that would
Why are we not getting any money from you?
Mr. Mayor, you said there were two investors, and this is public information, that would give us $20,000 per house. Who are those investors?
Cancel the contract and you'll see them.
Okay, so you all heard the answer.
Cancel the contract
Everything
and you'll
that-
see them.
Okay, I have more questions for
Why
you
aren't
based
we
on your
getting any money for
presentation.
those houses?
As you can see, there is no answer to the investor. The second one you stated, Honorable Mayor, you said that the city of Chicago will reduce our payments. They will reduce it after approximately 7 years. That means that we will be paying that. I didn't say reduce the payment. I wrote it down. If I got it wrong, somebody else can correct me. But you said that there will be a reduction in our payment. That reduction in our payment will be out after 7 years of consistent payment. The reason why I know, because myself, Trustee Pearson, and Attorney Murphy, and Ms. Redmond was there with the judge, with the city of Chicago. You were not present at that.
I never said there would be a reduction in payment. I said there would be a reduction in the penalty. That's what I said. And it's, and if you know, and Attorney Murphy can attest to that, wasn't there a part of the agreement, the reduction of a
After
$2 million?
7 years.
It wouldn't take us 7 years if we got revenue from the houses.
It wouldn't take that long.
Okay, Mayor, I'm still on
Right.
discussion. Mayor, you also... Mayor,
I'm sorry, Attorney.
I'm still in discussion, sir.
I never said a reduction of payment.
Okay, well, it's recorded. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, and you said this before, there was a $7 million offer for the Dorchester. Can you tell us in the public record who offered $7 million to the Dorchester? Because you continue to beat that drumbeat of the $7 million. Who was the party that offered $7 million to the Dorchester?
I don't have it right now.
You don't have that right now. Okay, now lastly.
We have it on record. We would have to.
Lastly, yeah, I know you got it on record. Yeah, along with.
It was 8.3 million. It wasn't 7.
Okay,
there you go.
Lastly, you.
It was 8.3 million.
Administrator, Fred Balanoff had two offers. One was 8.3 and another was 8.2 million.
Again, we have no public record of that offer. So, and this is not citizens' address yet, sir.
Point of order.
So you don't control that, trustee.
So, Mayor, you should control it, Mayor.
Right.
You should control it. But if it's in your favor, you won't. But I'm going to get my point now. If you can continue to interrupt me, sir.
Right.
I'm trying to be as respectful to you as possible. You just mentioned the Melanie Fitness Center being sold for, I believe, what is it, $350,000.
Point of order, please.
You, the village of Dolton, and again, this is why the audit is so important. We're losing more than that per year holding on to the Melanie Fitness Center. Now, if you talk about $250,000 a year that we're losing on the Melanie Fitness Center, just do the math. And this won't be any fuzzy math like I heard about on that board. All you got to do is multiply $250,000 per year. Even though we're selling at a discounted amount, and I agree it's discounted, but the individual that wants to purchase it will do the upgrades, will improve it, will not make any changes in the employment staff. So for you to say that we're giving away the Melanie Fitness Center, you'd rather hold on to it where we have a deficit added to our deficit of over $250,000 every year to subsidize the Melanie Fitness Center. So you can ask for your vote on the against the cancellation, but when we introduce BP Capital, we also introduce what is called for the housing. No, the housing for the records of the foreclosures, the banks. pro champs. We introduced pro champs. You said, and there were some residents who got some misinformation saying we're losing money on pro champs. Pro champs is something that was instituted that we were able to do it without the encumbrance from you. But since we instituted Pro Champs, the software program, we've accumulated 649 properties that have been registered to the Village of Dolton. The banks pay a registration fee of $200 each, equating to, you're talking about bringing in revenue to the village, $129,800, and that's over a 7-month period with Pro Champs.
What does that have to do with the Melanie Fitness Center?
Well, you brought the Melanie Fitness Center. I'm telling you, in relationship to the cancellation of BP Capital, if you let me finish, I'll tell you. With BP Capital, when it was instituted with this particular program that you had some resistance to as well, BP Capital has not cost us 1 penny. But you have violated the ordinance and the agreement that this board voted unanimously for BP Capital. You're taking this young man to court. If we were to agree to cancel this agreement, which is also canceling the ordinance that came along with it, then he in turn sues us. But you're using the resources of the village to sue someone who was duly voted for by this board that you're using, the attorney that the village is paying for. So it is costing us something with BP Capital, with court costs, because you're taking the young man to court because you refused to sign the agreement. The judge ruled in their favor on one of them, from what I understand. But Mayor, you know yourself that this BP Capital has not cost us 1 penny. All the money was to come out of the BP Capital's fund.
First of all, I'm not suing them. Y'all are suing me. I'm not suing them. Secondly, why shouldn't we get money from these abandoned houses?
Who is the $20,000 per house investors, Mayor?
Not only that, cancel the contract. Cancel the contract, and you'll see. Not only that.
Pay your taxes.
Not only that. The one house that they went to court to force me to sign the deed was to the law partner son who did the demolition liens on these properties for BP Capital. The son of the law partner of Anthony Bass is the one that they took me to court on to sign that deed. Now, if that's not a conflict of interest, what is?
Well, you say the judge forced you because the judge ruled in their favor.
If that's not a conflict, what is? And every other village that has abandoned properties and they get demolition liens or abandonment liens on those properties, the village get money for.
Who, Mayor?
The village should get money for.
Just say who, Mayor, because you.
I'm going to have a list for you.
A lot of stuff.
I'm going to have a list for you.
You're
saying that they don't?
You never back up what you're saying.
Are you
no,
saying?
I'm not saying that they don't.
Okay.
I'm asking you who.
I'll get your list.
Like we said,
I'll get your list.
These 20 investors.
I'll get your list.
And that little chart you drew up there, why don't you show how many people paid $20,000 per home since 2013 when you came in office? You wait till we came up with a program to try to put these houses back on the tax roll.
That's not a program.
And we talked to these residents who had trees growing up in the living room of houses next door to them, and who can't calls us and say, I got raccoons, the roof is falling in, something fell off the house and hit my house. When we came up with a program, now you got $20,000. Where was that $20,000 since you been in office? 2013, you didn't come up with a program. You waited till we came up with a program, and you fought it tooth and nail, sir.
If you think this is a program by having BP Capital to come in and get the houses that's been recently foreclosed on, that need minimum amount of work, and take those and sell those properties, and not address the real problem of abandoned properties that we've had here for 10 and 15 years, where there are raccoons in them, they haven't touched one of them. Haven't touched one of them.
Mayor, they haven't touched
one property
because you haven't signed the deeds over.
They have not touched one of them.
Because you have not signed the deeds to the over 40 properties that they have had the titles cleared.
I asked for simple explanation. I want to know who they sold them to, how much they sold them for. I want to know the difference of what they sold them for than what they would put on the property, and the amount of profit that was made to those investors who they sold them for. And matter of fact, they've sold some hot properties already to investors that they didn't even have the deed to it for. How are you going to sell a house and you don't have a deed to it? But those investors have already paid their money. And now you say that I'm suing them. I'm not suing them. Y'all are suing me.
Well, January 17th is your court date, and know that this will be deposed. You will be deposed because this is being recorded, Mayor, for all that you are stating for the over 40 properties that you are sitting on that you will not sign the deed for, that we can put persons in those homes. How could anyone be against a program that's putting people in homes in Dolton when the #1 complaint of residents is abandoned homes in Dolton? Why don't you sit on this and not sign these deeds over to BP Capital?
Why don't they address the real abandoned homes that's been abandoned for 10 to 15 years?
100 Lincoln that's boarded up, that you filed a claim on, a water claim on it, that's one of your houses that's boarded up, that you use the village money to have it boarded up.
That's not true. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out who ordered that, because I didn't order it.
That's all right. But that's what you doing. You out here buying up the houses. Let's talk about the houses that you done bought up.
What's wrong with investing in our community?
There's nothing wrong with it, but we're not getting any tax money from the houses from your program.
Okay.
So it sounds to me that your program is broke.
Yeah.
You buying up these houses. They in foreclosure. We're not getting any taxes from them. We're not getting any water bill money from it. So it sounds like your program is broke.
And here's another lie. There's none of my houses in foreclosure. I have the deeds on every piece of property that I purchased in Dolton.
I know. Excuse me. You absolutely right, because you have a time span to buy your taxes back. But in the meantime, the residents are not receiving any tax money from you. So do you understand that?
I have not lost one property due to taxes.
Listen,
I have not lost one property. And I've made a significant investment here in the village of Dolton from the time that I came here.
Any money from your houses on taxes? Yeah, that's right. Can you tell the residents why they have to pay taxes and you don't pay taxes?
Well, I'm going to
tell them. Can you answer that question?
He wouldn't be pursuing it. The only reason he's pursuing it because y'all put in a resolution.
No, Mayor, he's pursuing it.
No. They contacted us.
That's fine.
They contacted us. Okay. I just want to know how come you won't pay your taxes.
I'll welcome the investigation.
So go turn yourself in then.
I'll welcome the investigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, how come, just answer the question.
All right.
How come you won't pay your taxes?
Point of order, there's a motion on the floor.
Yes, let's vote on it.
Mayor, I had a statement. I was trying to wait. Okay. Residents, sorry for keeping you here this long, but as you can see, the program that I did initiate benefits you, the people. I want to give the homes to you first. I'm not for the investor. The mayor just stood up there and said he has people that's lined up that can purchase the homes for $20,000 a pop. No, that is not what we want as a community, and you guys know that. So I would like you guys to make sure you speak on that and tell this board what you want. You see what we want up here, and we all going back and forth, but the people wants the properties. So I am advocating, which I've always have, that the property goes to the people first, and of course we make the money first, the village. That's why I said the program was $5,000 for owner occupied, of course. So you guys have the funds to benefit from that. And then investors, don't get me wrong, I'm not cutting anybody out. We can coexist. The investor will fix the properties that need the most work. So we would split a 75-25 split. So it's basically saying everybody's opinion up here. But what I'm saying to you is I don't want them to forget about you guys. You guys first, then investors second. So we can stop all the bickering and stop saying we're going to get all this money. Just let's put this program in place and move forward, people. So I just want that for the record, Mary Kay. People first, residents first, investors second. Thank you.
At least under your program, we're talking about receiving some revenue. At least on your program. Now, you initially voted for BP Capital. Your mind has changed since that point. But at least under your program, we're still getting some revenue. Under BP's program, we don't get anything.
But at least we had a program, Mayor. What was your program?
That's not a program.
Your program came. Your program came just to say no.
How's a program when we don't receive anything for it?
Mayor, we're not receiving anything from your properties.
Let's take the vote. Go ahead. Let's take the vote.
On the motion to cancel the agreement with BP Capital. Motion by Trustee Muhammad, second by Trustee Pearson.
No.
Henyard, sorry. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Trustee Muhammad.
No.
Trustee Stubbs.
No.
Trustee Pearson.
No.
Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
Bill.
Motion fails, 1-3.
Motion fails.
1-3.
Yeah. Okay. That motion fails. BP Capital still has the authority to control over these abandoned properties. Next thing on the agenda is hire 7 part-time police officers. Trustee Pearson.
Okay, residents, I want to apologize for keeping you here this long. This meeting should not get into what it gets into. Passions run high, but I apologize. This is about hiring 7 part-time police officers. We had a committee meeting last month, and we discussed with the chief the need of hiring the 7 part-time police officers and why he wanted 7 part-timers as opposed to 1 or 2 full-timers. He can do much more with 7 part-time police officers. Part-time police officers are paid $15 an hour. If they worked an 8-hour day, that would be $120 for a day. The chief wants to hire these part-time police officers. They are allowed on a part-time basis to work 30 hours a week. However, he wants to bring them in at 16 hours a week to gauge their activity. This should cost the taxpayers no money because part-time police officers should be able to write citations well in excess of their salaries, well in excess of their salaries. 7 part-time police officers would give this village a lot of visibility, and with all the complaints that we've had about people speeding up and down the street, not stopping at stop signs, people saying they don't see police on their block, this would give us 7 police officers, and the chief can work these police officers up to 30 hours a week each. However, like I said, he's going to start them off with, he said 16 hours a week each, and hopefully the board will see to hire the 7 part-time police officers immediately for this chief. So I'd like to make a motion to hire 7 part-time police officers.
Second.
It's a motion and second to hire 7 part-time police officers. Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs. Here.
Lady's wrong.
Okay. Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
And Trustee Henyard.
Aye. Don't we need her because you have to be 4
You need her
votes?
vote, you need, well, we'll just wait.
You come back.
All right, why don't we just move on? Can we move on?
Yeah, we can move on and pick
Okay.
up the rest of that
All right,
vote.
next thing on the agenda is motion to reopen Fire Station Number 2. Trustee Pearson.
Fire Station 2 was closed, I believe back in July. I'm not sure when, but it's been closed for several months, and we've been trying to get that open. Today we hired 3 full-time firemen, and during a committee meeting that we had last month, I asked Chief Dyer, would we be able to house all these firemen in one house, firehouse? And the answer was somebody might have to sleep on a couch. And that's not the way that we should run this village. We have a second fire station that is closed, and I believe that the mayor closed that fire station because of a complaint that a fireman put in about he has concerns of his health. He said he had concerns of rodents and smells and different things that was there. So the mayor made the decision to close it, which is his prerogative. And my only concern is that we have not opened it back up. And that's months. And whatever the reason is, we should be able to make decisions and open it back up. And the concern that I have is we're not getting it open. And a resident at the last board meeting said if the trustees cared about opening Fire Station 2, they would put it on the agenda. And that's where it's at today. And it's not to force the mayor or try to get the mayor to do something that he doesn't want to do. It's the board to vote on allowing the fire department to move forward with whatever they need to do to get that open. So the motion that I'd like to make is just to give the chief the go-ahead to find out what we need to do, because right now we don't even know what we need to do. And they say we got rodents. Well, we got an exterminator, but did they identify what we need to do? We need a couple steel doors. Steel doors is easy to handle. At my place of business where I manage, we just cut holes in the walls, put in 2 new doors. So if the holes are already there, putting in steel doors are really not a problem, because we put them in where there was not even an opening. We cut a hole in the wall because the fire department said you need a door at this end of the building. So whatever it is, power washing the place, cleaning it, repairing the roof, whatever it is, let's get some quotes and let's get it open so that we don't have new firefighters thinking that it's okay, that we want them to sleep on the couch. So that's my motion.
And I believe I seconded, Mayor. Is there discussion?
Okay, it's been motioned to open the Fire Station 2, and it's been seconded. Now discussion.
Can I be recognized, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Again, Trustee Pearson, who chairs that committee, and I'm also a member, we just wanted to know what it takes to open it. And according to our understanding and dealing with the fire department, they say it's exposed wiring. It's a lack of working ventilation, lack of impenetrable barrier between the living quarters and the apparatus bay, leaking urinals, rusted through man door, leaking roof inside the living quarters with moisture behind walls and under carpet, rodents such as mice, raccoons, squirrels, waste and foul odor. The members issue runny noses, sneezing, skin irritation, difficulty in breathing, and headaches. And if this is what it takes to get it done, I concur with Trustee Pearson that if they would just get us an estimate and what it needs to be done, and let's get it open, because it's been going on since July and it makes no sense. And I know, Mayor, you said you'd have it done by the end of January, if I remember, in our last meeting. But we need to formally approve the invoice to get this done so that these firemen can share both houses, like South Holland and other municipalities that have 2 firehouses.
Well, I was trying to get it done at no cost to the village, but if you want to approve and get estimates and approve the funding to get it done, that's your prerogative. But as of today, when I got this list from the fire chief, that we still have some health issue problems here in station number 2. It was identified by a firefighter. Do we want to put ourselves in a liable state where we put our firefighters back in here, where you got exposed wires, where you have a problem with breathing, where you got rodents that can be exposed with cause them health problems? Is that what you want to do?
Mayor,
I told you, let me finish. Let me finish. We're
saying the same thing. Get it fixed.
Let me finish. And I see it by the end of January, because I've been talking to people to try to get it done at no cost to the village.
Who are those people, Mayor?
So at any rate, if this board tonight want to approve to get it open and want to approve a budget to get it fixed, then so be it.
We're saying the same thing, Mayor.
I'm saying that I was going to do it, get it done for no cost.
Okay.
You're saying put it out for proposals to get bids on it.
Who are those people?
If I don't have to identify the people to you.
Exactly.
I don't have to identify the people. I said that 2 meetings ago, when you're pressing this and trying to make it a political issue that the second firehouse is closed, the second firehouse is closed, I told you we'll have it open by the end of January. Now, today is January 7th.
It's not political. How do you think? Why do you think I'm talking about it? Because people come to me as the chair and ask, "What are you going to do about it?"
We still have issues that you've identified.
But it ain't political.
That you've identified last week that are health hazards to the firefighters. So be it. However you want to approve this, however you want to approach it tonight, take the vote, get your RFPs, and get the job done.
I guarantee you, if the same complaint was on this village hall, you wouldn't shut it down for 8 months. You would have had it fixed right away, Mayor.
We had an
Wouldn't have shut it down.
We had an existing fire station, and for over 4 years, I've asked for additional firefighters, and you finally approved it because there's an election coming on. You probably approved it, which we could have reduced our overtime years ago.
Man.
That didn't happen.
Well, you know, you be lying.
So I'm done with my discussion. However you want to vote on it, just vote on it.
Mayor, years ago, we were using Chicago's money. That's why we didn't approve it.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
As I understand it, the motion is to reopen Fire Station number 2?
No, to let the chief go forward with finding out cost of what he needs to, whatever it takes to reopen it.
Motion to direct the fire chief to obtain
Quotes.
for
repairs of Firehouse number 2, to make it inhabitable to firefighters.
That was a motion by Trustee Pearson, second by Trustee Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries. Chief, when do you think the earliest, when do you think possible you have those bids done and the completion of the repair of Firehouse 2? I'm sorry. Say something in the microphone. Get him a microphone.
Mayor, while we waiting on him, can I?
We're not waiting.
Need her vote on the
I'm
prior
trying to
item.
give her, Mary Kay my vote.
Okay. Let him finish and then we'll get your vote. All right, Chief.
So we have a number of things on the list. It's all about getting the quotes for the leaking roof. Would probably be the main thing in the rodents. So I would guess a few months.
Why a few months?
Because we can identify what it is, but we still have to get it fixed. Like, I don't know how long it's
I'll
going
come help you, Chief. Because I do this every day, and I can get people in there in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Give us some quotes, so I'll come help you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with what Trustee Pearson said. It shouldn't take that long. That's correct.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to take that long to find out, but I don't know how long it's going to take to put a roof on. If we need a whole roof on Station 2, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not a roofer.
Okay.
I don't know what the problem is on the roof either, so I can't really say how long it's going to take.
Okay.
Also, the bathroom has been dismantled. It has to be reconstructed and tested for asbestos. So,
Here we go.
All I can say is I'll get right on the estimates, but I can't tell you how long it's going to take. I don't know.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Trustee Stubbs.
Madam Clerk, I want to vote aye on item C.
That was the motion to appoint or hire 7 part-time police officers.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes it 4-0 passed.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is new business, the hiring of building inspector, Trustee Henry.
All right, thank you. I put this on the agenda because we are in desperate need of a building inspector for housing. Currently now we have one inspector now, and that's Charles. He does all the building, the zoning, all of those things. We need someone for rental inspections. If need, we need them to be qualified, a qualified building inspector. So I would like to make a motion to hire a qualified building inspector for housing.
I second that.
Okay, it's a motion second to hire building inspector. Any discussion?
Yes, with the one caveat, I believe this inspector is paid, he's a not freelancer, but an independent contractor, and he's paid per inspection. Is that correct, Trustee?
That's correct. He was our electrical inspector. He was paid $20.
20, is it 20 per inspection?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Trustee, you said an inspector, are you talking about because I thought we had discussed this, you were talking about Cornell's position as the electrical inspector or just a regular inspector like Charles. Well, he does that too.
She's in need of a rental inspector because the rental inspections is not getting done currently. They're way behind, and that's money, of course, revenue that we receive when they pay for the rental.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's no new money. It's just replacing old money. It's replacing a person.
Okay, and do you want that individual also to know anything about electrical?
Well, yes.
Okay.
She's gonna draw it up. I guess she got to talk to Angela and HR, and they're gonna draw up a sheet and put it out on the website. This is just get approval so they can move forward.
Okay.
And Mayor, when you do pick someone, that's why I keep saying qualified, not nobody friend, nothing politics. Somebody qualified that can actually do the job.
I agree with you.
On the motion to hire a qualified building inspector for rental properties, Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Motion carried, 4 ayes. Next thing on the agenda is body cams patrolized by Chief Collins.
Thank you, Mayor, Madam Clerk, trustees, and fine citizens of Dolton. In our continuing effort to try to push this police department into 21st century, part of that is in trying to improve our technology. And also transparency. We were talking about transparency earlier, and oftentimes when there's an encounter with a police officer, there's a question that remains of what actually happened, the version from the citizen or the violator, and also the police officer's version. So what we have been doing over the past year is exploring the introduction of body-worn cameras, or generic terms, body cams. And in today's times, everyone is aware that there are body cameras that exist. In Illinois, I'm not sure how many departments we have that wear body cameras, but there is a wave coming across that it probably at some point in our lifetime it'll be mandated that police officers wear body cams. We would like to introduce body cameras to our police officers so that we can maintain that level of transparency. Also so that we can reduce our exposure to liability due to false claims or fictitious claims, and also to keep our police officers honest on their encounters with the citizens out there. We have piloted a camera program over the last year with a company called Intrinsic, and some of that video evidence that has been collected has been very valuable to us when it comes to prosecutions and also when it comes to citizen complaints against police officers. We use that data. Gave each of you a small packet that has Patrol Eyes. This is the actual company that we are looking at that has been introduced to us through the company called Intrinsic. Intrinsic is a software company. They do not make the hardware, but they recommend the hardware. On the very last page is a quote from them on what the actual cost is. So what is very unique to the police department is our ability to buy equipment, purchase equipment, programs and software without the burden on the taxpayers through the use of asset forfeiture. So what we would like to do is use asset forfeiture to introduce these body cams. There's a substantial cost to it. However, the cost of ownership of these cameras is billed out over a 5-year period, so it's more manageable. And we do have the ability to manage this cost through our asset forfeiture program. And some other programs that I've introduced, I always talk about the asset forfeiture. And for the citizens who are not aware of what asset forfeiture program is the federal government has allowed law enforcement agencies to seize property of criminals. Say, for instance, a drug dealer. We stop a drug dealer who has drugs and money. That money obviously was illegally gotten gain. So we have the ability to take that property to court and ask the court to award it to the police department. Some cases we win, some cases we do not win. But just to give you an example of what it's like is, a couple years ago we were involved in a multi-agency criminal investigation, and in excess of $1 million was seized, and Dalton's portion of that was $95,000, which we received our check a couple months ago for $95,000, which goes into the asset forfeiture account, which is strictly and mandated to be used only for law enforcement. It has to be turned back into law enforcement. You can't repair the village hall. You can't buy pens, pencils outside of the police department. You have to use that for law enforcement investigations. And that is the intent of what we'd like to do, so that we don't have to keep asking the taxpayers for more money, more money. We obviously have financial issues that we like to that we have to address, but we also like to be financially responsible as we try to move this police department forward. So I'm asking tonight if you would take a look at the quote, and if it's reasonable, I would ask for your vote so that we can pursue this opportunity.
Question for you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I asked this at the committee meeting, but it just came to my mind for those who may be thinking about this. A scenario is a police stops an individual in his vehicle. When does the camera activate upon interaction with that individual, and can you tell when that officer has turned that camera off during the middle of that interaction with that individual?
Yes. As far as Illinois is concerned, there are specific Illinois statutes that we have to follow if we decide to enact a body-worn camera program. One of the requirements is once the officer receives the initial call for service, the officer has to activate the on button to start recording even before the officer arrives on scene. One of the other requirements is that each body-worn camera has to have a pre-event buffer. In other words, it has to have a 30-second before recording, before even pressing that button, so that you can go back, basically go back in time and find out what happened 30 seconds before the officer actually activated that. One of the other requirements is that once an officer has an encounter with a person, if it is a witness, or the parents of a juvenile, if they are requested to turn the camera off, they have to turn the camera off. Now, all digital evidence is uploaded, and one of the good things about Intrinsic is we don't have to maintain a server to put video data on. Video takes up an incredible amount of space, and if you can imagine how much we'd be generating, we are open 24 hours a day, 3 shifts per day. That's a lot of video data. So what would happen, it would be on a cloud server. We own the data, but our data would reside on a cloud. Officers do not have the ability to manipulate the data. They do not have the ability to erase the data or alter the data in any way. In fact, anything that you do inside that program, there is an audit trail. Even if you just looked at a video, it'll say who signed in, who logged in, and just even looked at the video.
Thank you.
And this was talked about at the Police and Fire Committee meeting, just so everyone's aware that this is not the first time that the committee members are hearing that. We had that at our last Police and Fire Committee meeting, which was held last month. So I'd like to make, with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to let the chief move forward with the body cam patrol eyes.
Second.
The motion is second to move forward with the body cams. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Motion carried 4 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next thing on the agenda is squatters. Trustee Pearson.
I put squatters on here because of the incident that we had recently, and after talking with Chief Collins and Trustee Henyard, and getting a memo from Attorney Murphy, it's more of a housing issue. It does not become a police issue until there's a crime committed in that in a squatter's case. So my recommendation was to throw it back at Trustee Henyard because I understand she has been doing some research on it, and if it goes to committee, that Chief have a representative there that from the police department that could chime in, but I'm going to give the lead back to housing.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Pearson. I'm gonna key on 2 things. One, we have a big problem here in the village of Dolton with squatters. People literally prey on our vacant property. They drive through our community and they basically take ownership of the house. And what I mean by that is they just basically break in the house, move in, and that's their home. One way of getting rid of a squatter, and I talked to the chief and I talked to the attorney about this, is it's called criminal trespassing. You, the homeowner, like if you vacated your home and you left it and you moved to the city or whatever, or you say you came back from out of town and you went on vacation, you came back, somebody's living in your house. You would come to the village, you would go to the police department, talk to the chief, you would basically file a criminal complaint. You would therefore sign that criminal complaint, and that would give the officer the means to go and remove that individual from the house. And what I mean by remove is, of course, they will be arrested. So you can't be scared to sign the complaint. Now you have possession of your home. So that's just one way of doing it. Otherwise, squatters do have rights. They do have the opportunity to stay in the vacant properties, unfortunately. And I want to throw it to Chief. Did you want to speak on that today? Is that what? Okay, Chief, and then also the attorney. So I guess I'll go to the attorney first and then the chief. So attorney, would you like to explain or elaborate on squatters before I get into this story? Can you get them an example of you putting out a squatter in the village of Dolton through the criminal trespassing?
Okay, and we've successfully done this a couple times in the past. Property owner says there's people inside my property. It's been up for sale. We're trying to rehab it inside. I just got here today and found some people living in there. What we have attempted to do is make contact with the people that are in there and find out what's the reason you're in there. Most of the occasions is they presented the police department with a absolutely bogus lease. The lease always had a phone number of someone that we could never reach. The lease was like it was a template someone downloaded, and it always looked the same. So at that point, we asked the owner, what do you want to do? And it is always up to the owner what they want to do with the property. Do you want the people out? If you want them out, we can ask them to leave. If they don't leave, then you can sign a complaint for criminal trespass to real property. And we've pursued it that way. But also what I'd like to do is ask tonight if we can get a legal opinion on the adverse possession law. The adverse possession law, to my understanding and to my knowledge, is the part of what we hear about squatters' rights. Now, my understanding of the adverse possession law is in order to have rights to a property that has been vacant, the person who moved in there has to have lived in there openly and notoriously for at least 20 years, had to have paid taxes on that property for 7 of those years, and have made significant improvements to the property. And that's my reading of it, but I'd like to ask for a legal opinion that can be delivered to us so we have something to operate off of
Correct.
in the near future.
I agree. Attorney Murphy?
I sent the board, when I saw this on the agenda, I sent the board a memo. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to see it.
If I may, Mr. Attorney, I think page 1 is on everybody's desk, but page 2 was not distributed. There's a second page to that memo.
I think that to be more precise, we should almost kind of get away from the term squatter. What we're talking about is trespassers, people who are trespassing on somebody else's property. As the chief mentioned, it can be pursued as a criminal matter, I don't think it's very likely that we're going to have somebody coming back from vacation to see people living in their house. We're dealing primarily with abandoned properties where you've got a mortgagee in possession or a HUD contractor management firm in possession. But in order for the police department to do anything, the owner of the property has to file a complaint. And trespass to property is a misdemeanor.
Yes.
And so the person gets arrested and it goes to court. Even at that, sounds like the department's been pretty successful using powers of persuasion, but even then, the police department can't force somebody out of the house. They can arrest them, have them post bond, and then, you know, maybe it gets repeated again. Hopefully that doesn't happen. The other aspect is civil. If an owner believes that somebody's staying over wrongfully in the premises, they file what we all know is a forcible, an eviction action. The village has no part in that. and the department does not want to get involved and doesn't have the authority to get involved as what I would call the eviction police. If an owner said that this is a tenant who's holding over, we want you to arrest them and get them out of there. The police don't do that. They don't get involved in landlord-tenant disputes. What is on this particular property is puzzling to me. Well, let me back up. The chief is 100% right about this adverse possession. There are very sophisticated phonies who come to these properties. How they find them, I don't know, but they claim they've been there for 10 minutes, and so they own it by virtue of the doctrine of adverse possession. That's complete nonsense. And in order to have adverse possession, you have to have lived on that property and have asserted control over that property for 20 years. So what's going on in Dolton now, to the extent there's a problem, this adverse possession stuff is of no merit. And this is not just a Dolton problem. It's a regional problem that's a function of the mortgage crisis and the crash in real estate. This property on Dobson, I think, is a good example of a frustrating situation illustrating the limits of village authority. This is a HUD home that's being run by a management firm. You might think at first, well, that's good, we got a management person we can talk to. This management firm's in Florida. You can imagine the portfolio these companies have of hundreds and thousands of homes that they don't know what's going on in them. So it creates frustration. Where the village does have the authority to move in and go to court for an enforcement to remove people from the property is if we have a health and safety issue. For example, if somebody's living in a premises, lawfully or unlawfully, and there's no water service to that property because of non-payment or shut-off, that creates a health and safety problem that the village has the authority to enforce. Why? Because after that property water is cut off, you only get one flush, right? Yeah. But that's a health and safety problem that we can get the people out of. Doesn't matter if they're in lawfully, if they're the owner, or if they're a trespasser or whatever else, but it kind of illustrates the limits of village authority. We're dealing with private property rights on the one hand, and if an owner says, you know what, I'm the XYZ bank, and we're trying to get rid of this place, and you know what, we may prefer to have somebody in there, whether they're paying rent or not, because if somebody's living in there, the house is not going to get stripped of the copper and all the utilities, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing the village can do about that. It's up to the owner to say, I want those people out. But they have to enforce their rights. They cannot use the police department as the eviction police. And they have to stand by criminal complaint. Meaning what? Meaning they got to go to court to testify. So it's a difficult problem. You know, this meeting has been using the P word a lot. And this is not a P problem. It's a regional problem that requires a lot of cooperation. But this property in Dobson illustrates the challenges that we have. The water bill's paid current for this property. Why? I haven't got the slightest idea. Why in the world would this HUD management firm keep the water current when nobody's in there? And Denise Fields sent me some material from the management company that they actually had people evicted from the place. So it's a dilemma for everybody, and then you've got, you know, the additional problems that, squatter or not, the weather, as the environmentalist said, sooner or later it's going to get winter, right? And you know, how do you throw people? You can't just throw people out on their ear. So it's a challenging problem, and we have to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. Chief, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything else to add unless there's a question.
I have a question. This particular property in question, the Dobson property, was one of the properties I mentioned earlier, the ProChamp software that we had installed. Of the 649 properties that were registered with the Village of Dolton since last May, this particular property was listed. There were complaints of drug activity and other nefarious activity in this premise. And did we follow up with any complaints? You said it's a HUD-managed property. Is there any record on the side of the village where we did issue some type of fine where a inspector went in? Because I heard from one or two trustees that there was a complaint issued about boards being put on the property, then they were taken off the property, there was some drug activity, and then next thing you know, this pops up on the news, which I think was about 2 weeks ago. What do we do in that case? Because that's the responsibility of the village of Dolton to follow up when there is a complaint of drug activity or squatting.
I
Yes,
can
trustee.
respond to that.
Thank you.
Can I have the floor?
Go ahead,
Okay.
trustee.
Basically, I was going to tell a whole story, so from A to B, so everybody kind of understand and can follow what you are saying. Residents, if you don't mind, just take a second. I need you to think about what I'm about to say. We had a shooting here in the village of Dolton at 144-41 Dobson. And I'm giving this information because it's already been given. It's been all over the news. Shots fired about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 or so, I believe. And basically, it was a domestic, from my understanding. I'm just reciting what I heard. The person went to the house to pick up a cell phone. The ex-boyfriend, from my assumption, shot the girl and the boy on the porch. Therefore, everybody was called. The news came out. They was in critical condition. So let me fast forward from the situation to the board up so you can understand why we're dealing with the squatter situation. The house after the crime was taped off. People came out, assessed the situation. A board up company was called out. They boarded up the property. Okay, so follow me with this. We boarded up the property. The issue was we had a squatter on the block. The property was supposed to be vacant, but it wasn't. The squatter took possession of the house. The squatter was therefore taking electric from the house next door with an extension cord. So I'm giving you all the facts to the story. The house was boarded up, so that means that the person, to me, evicted themselves. So they should not be back in that property, right? Okay. Fast forward to now. Well, let's go 2 days after. I'm assuming the lady called the mayor, and she basically asked the mayor, Mayor, my house is boarded up. Well, we could back up since you laughing. I drove past that house right after the shooting. The next day, the board was off the house. The house was basically back open and the door was open, right? I called Denise. Denise sent the board up company back out. They came right away like that, which I was happy for. The house was reboarded. The person, the lady, whoever she is, I don't know her name, came and said to the mayor that she needed to get access back to her home. Her home was boarded up. Okay, again, it was a crime, y'all. So y'all know the house was boarded up and no one should be in the property. The mayor inserted himself by telling the police department to go and remove the board from the house. So this is where my issue come in at. My job, or our job as elected official, is protect the community. We should not insert ourselves in situations like that. That house should have stayed boarded up, and no one should have access to that property. And we should not have been calling our police department to go and take down a board when a shooting occurred. So now I put my residents back at jeopardy by doing so, if y'all following what I'm saying. So if the mayor wanted to help this young lady, all he had to do is call a homeless shelter and get help that way, or call an organization that help people in that situation. The problem was fixed on the block. You guys wasn't afraid no more. You guys didn't call my phone no more until the lady arrived back in the house. The second part of this, the individual was not caught that basically did the shooting, right? So she's back in the house. So now residents are scared to the fact that the person might show back up and finish the job they started. That was the second part of it. I didn't appreciate that because, again, our job is to not put you back in harm's way. The person evicted themselves basically when they committed the crime. So they should not been allowed back on the premises. If anything, we should advise the person to find shelter elsewhere. So Denise gave out a letter saying that they started the eviction process, meaning KP Management, which is the company that has the property. So if they started the process and the sheriff come out and evict the person, what's any difference? They still have to find somewhere to go. So it was no right of his to basically allow the lady to go back into a property that a crime just occurred and put the situation back on the block. So I just want y'all to understand the story and why I'm totally against any elected official inserting themselves in a situation after we had a shooting and putting you guys back in harm's way. For the record, Mary Kay.
Could I clarify a few points of that?
Yeah, and also, Chief, I want to call up DC Mobley. I've never talked to this lady. I don't know who the lady is. I got a call from the police department.
Now you don't know her.
He can straighten it out. He can straighten it out.
Yeah, Mayor, the bad thing about
He can straighten it out because
like that, they're not gonna speak against you per se.
That's not true. Now
that is true.
You're going to question the integrity of these two.
You appoint people. People
You're going to question the
jobs.
integrity. You're going to question the integrity of the
I'm not
police
gonna sit up
chief
here and make it
and
up,
the
though,
deputy
Mayor.
chief.
I'm not gonna make it up. Well, how did the lady get back in the house?
If I could make some points of clarification, please. I would like to verify the mayor did not speak to that woman at all. He doesn't know her name. He never met her. He never talked to her on the phone or face-to-face. That is a fact. The next thing is, just for the sake of the residents, that subject was caught. He has been placed in jail, and he has to go to court for his crimes. The young lady who in question was not a suspect. She was not part of that crime at all, and she did have an infant who also needed taken care of. The next thing is the police department does not get involved in evictions, period. I don't care what situation it is. The police department does not get involved in any type of evictions. That is the sheriff's department. That is outside of our jurisdiction. The particular house, when we got done processing it for evidence, take the tape down and leave it, that is our involvement. That is it. We don't say who goes, who stays. We don't do that. And also the police department does not put boards up, and we do not take boards down, but I'm sure the deputy chief can explain that situation.
The other thing I like to say is that they indicated, these two trustees indicated there was drug activity. I asked the deputy chief to pull the history on that house when all the police, any type of police activity that had taken place, and when the police was called there. Now, Trustee Hendrick mentioned the fact, not tonight, but she's mentioned the fact earlier that they've had problems with the house for years. People made complaints, and when the people made complaints, according to our housing director, there's never been any complaints come into the housing department. They all went to the police department. That's why I asked the deputy chief to pull the history on that house and the activity that had occurred and why the police was there. None of it was criminal activity.
Okay, but Mayor, you got on the news and lied and said that you didn't know nothing about that house. Them people been complaining about that house every other day.
I don't get the calls to the police department. The entire board knew about it. The attorney knew about it because he got the water cut off. So why do people lie? They not lying that they did not complain. They complained about it, and this entire board knew about it, Mayor. And like how the chief just got up there and he said what he said, you know, that's a lie, because we was just in the basement the other day. You said you sent them out there to remove the board. That's what you said. So now I'm lying, I'm making this up here. You know I'm not. That's what you said, because you didn't want to be on the news. So that's what you said, because you didn't let the lady back in the house. And I said, Mayor, it's a squatter. Why would you let her back in the house where a crime just happened? This was our conversation. She did not commit the crime. Secondly,
it don't matter. Nobody should be in the house, Mayor.
We're not in the eviction process.
But okay, so why did you want to go take the board off for her if it's boarded up? That means she got to find somewhere else to go, Mayor.
Chief, tell us about the call that was generated by Detective Coleman to you and your call to me, and why the boards were removed.
All right. So
the boards was removed. Okay.
So
you already said that.
At the end of the
he just said it wasn't.
At the end of the incident, like Chief Collins said, once we're done, once this scene has been processed, we're done with it. The house was boarded up. At the end of the night, the lady that was residing there, not the offender, not the person, the target person, she went back to the home. It was boarded up. She reached out to Detective Coleman and was looking for some assistance. In the past, we do house people in past incidents. At this point, we did not have the funding for that, the police department. I reached out to Janice, and I couldn't contact her. So my next step, I called the mayor. This is on a late evening. I asked the mayor, I told him what we were facing, and at that point, he advised me that we could not put her out. We have no legal ramifications to put her out. We don't know if she is there legally or illegally. Until we find that out, there's nothing that we could do. Just like Chief Collins stated, if the homeowner had came to us and say, hey, this person is in my property, here's my paperwork, I'm in the process of selling it, then we can get them out of there immediately and trespass them. If they go back in, then they'll be locked up.
You also mentioned the fact there was a minor child, a 3-year-old child with the young lady. And what do? We illegally evict them?
Mayor.
And subject ourselves to liability?
People have been on that block for 30+ years. How dare you sit here and put somebody back into a house that was already boarded up? The problem was solved. They should have not been back in the property, period. I don't get how y'all don't see that like residents. If a shooting happened by your house, why would you want that individual back in the house and it's already boarded up?
She was not the offender.
Okay, even if she wasn't, it was already boarded up. Why would you take the boards down? That's not what we do, Mayor.
The investigation was over. That's where it was
Mayor,
down.
but we don't insert ourselves in that.
The police secured the property after they finished their investigation. And then the other incident happened with the party, with the female occupant and the child. That's when they called me. We're not in the business, and the village attorney have told you, we're not in the business of eviction.
I'm just going to say one other thing before I sit down. 2 points that the chief already said. The mayor had no contact with this lady. He did not advise us to put the boards up or to take them down. The police department did not take them down. This lady, when she went back in, she went in on her own free will.
No, she did. Well, she had no tools to get in that house. And the mayor just said, I'm gonna let you come and speak and say why the boards was removed. So now you're saying you didn't. Okay.
The police department did not remove the boards, trustee. Okay.
Chief, can you mention the fact of what the history of? You remember there were 7 encounters that people would call the police on that residence. You remember them? I have them downstairs.
I know 2 was well-being checks. 1 was a noise complaint. 1 was a parking complaint. But none of them, out of the 7 incidents that I pulled from 2015 up to current, none of them was of criminal activity.
And no drug activity.
So.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, I think we should take it to the committee and come up with some rules.
Yeah, I agree.
For this village, because it seems like we don't have it.
Can you reiterate the
I think the rules are the law, and the law says the village cannot evict people.
Yeah, but the rules, we could also contact these people. If we put something out there where residents, if they think they got a squatter, they come to the village, and the village can pursue seeing who the property owner is and move forward with that owner to say, do you know they're there? If you don't, what do you want to do about it? Rather than have residents living in fear. And we say that it's okay until the owner decides to put them out.
I agree with that 100%, but you don't need a new set of rules. But
I just think we need to do something, because right now they're living there.
It's happening all over. I mean, none of these communities are immune to these squatters coming in, and they're very sophisticated. Today, can I have order, please? Today, I met with, in my office, Ed Moody, the new recorder of deeds. One of the issues I brought up with him was about the squatters. And he says, Mayor, it's a big problem all over. He advised me to try to advise our residents to apply for the fraud alert through their department. Because in some cases, these squatters come in, they file liens on the property, and they get that property in their name, and it's really difficult to get them out at that point. And they're scamming seniors. And so we talked about this. He agrees. I mean, there's a legal ramification if we do it improperly. Because even these squatters, you say, well, why are they moving in there? Why are they moving in there? And to avoid paying. But they know their rights, and they have pursued municipalities and pursue mortgage companies that try to evict them illegally. One of the things that he did bring up today was the fact that, and I shared this with Attorney Murphy, is that some of these management companies have been paying the utilities, as in this case, they pay $759 or $749 for that water bill there at that property. And in some cases, they know that somebody's in there. And they'd rather have somebody in there, whether it's a squatter or not, to preserve the property. Because the longer that property stays abandoned, it increases the appetite for the vandals to come in, and you had a $100,000 house. By the time they get through ripping it off, it's worth $15,000 when they take all the infrastructure out of the house. So in some cases where these management companies cannot sell these properties, they know people are living in them, and they don't pursue it. So as John said, Attorney Murphy said, why would a management company pay the $700 some odd when they know that someone's not to be in there? And the reason they do that is so we can't cut the water off, because the bill has been paid.
Well, my concern is for the residents next door that want to know if somebody's coming back to shoot somebody else. That's my concern. And I mean, you're the mayor. What do you propose we do about it, or do we just let it go?
I propose that if we identify that they're squatters, we use every ramification to try to get them out. Now, we need to do the research to find out if they're squatters. Secondly, we need to put the pressure on whether it's a management company or a mortgage company that should be responsible for that property. I thought when you voted in pro-champs, part of the thing was identify these mortgage companies and lien holders that have rights to these properties, not just to register them, but to force them to do something with it. If we had, and I proposed this over 4.5 years ago, that we need a full-time person to identify. We've identified 400 some odd abandoned properties. Then we need to identify who's responsible for the upkeep, whether it's a mortgage company, whether it's a personal individual, to maintain those properties. And it would even reduce our maintenance costs that we spend a lot of money on cutting the grass.
But that's a part of the program.
In some of these,
recognized, Mayor. Okay, you mentioned pro-champs.
I'm not done, trustee.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, my apology.
In some of these other communities, they don't do that in some of these other communities. They don't let those houses sit abandoned and deteriorate. They go after the mortgage holders and things like that. So, that's something we need to look at. But I would not suggest us trying to evict those people with the police and not doing it rightfully, because we're going to set up. One of those that we forced to get out is going to set ourselves up to be sued, and then we put it in liable state, and we have to defend it whether we win or not. The cost of defending it.
And Mayor, I propose that we don't basically put ourselves in that situation where we remove somebody from a house, or basically, let me back up, where we allow somebody to come in the house when we already know eviction was in process. It was pending, and we still let the person go back into the property, and we knew all the facts. You did, because I got emails from Denise right here that states that it was an adverse occupant. That means the person didn't belong in the house.
That was the day after she had re-entered. We received that information.
This was the day of when the media was here. She brought all this up here, and you even read it off to the media. Trustee Stubbs was there with me, so I know we both can't be making that up. So
that was after the crime, and the person was back in the building.
Say that again?
That was after the crime, when the news conference was, and the person was back in the building.
They weren't back in the building the same day. It was not. It was 2 days after, Mayor. That's why I'm saying, why did we insert ourselves? The situation was handled. They basically evicted themselves by doing the crime. So the house was boarded up. So all I'm saying, if we knew better, which we did, why didn't we do better?
I'm going on a recommendation of the police chief, the deputy chief, and the attorney.
There's no recommendation from them when you had the facts in writing stating that the people didn't belong in the house. So you let the squatter back in the house that they didn't even own or belong in.
Trustee, I'm not going to argue with you back and forth.
I know, but I'm just stating the facts, because KP management stated that.
You even question the integrity of the deputy chief and the chief.
Mayor, because we was all in the same room, and how dare you sit up here and say the opposite of what you said.
Whatever.
You said the boys was taken off. You even said that up here. You did. You took them off. The lady didn't do it.
Whatever.
Not be recognized.
Go ahead, trustee.
Okay, we just recently received the second page of Attorney Murphy's memo, and on the second page at the top it says whether the village would have authority to step in is on the issue of health and safety, which Attorney Murphy mentioned before. And Mayor, you said something about what we need to do, what has to happen. You know, we need to, or you yourself as the head, as the president of this board, is to work with our inspectors to be more aggressive in doing what we need to do legally, of course. You mentioned ProChamps. ProChamps software does have who the property belongs to. It also has within the software the fine, the violation of the fines that can be forwarded not only to the mortgage company or the management company, can also be forwarded to the attorney of record of that particular property, and then we can also start collection on that particular property based to the ProChamps. So it's not the software that doesn't work, it's what we can do to police the software, where our inspectors can go in and be more aggressive in what they're doing, following the law like our attorney says, but we're not doing that. All we're saying, well, we need to do this, we got to do this, but somebody has to take charge and have our housing department along with the inspectors to go in and do what they need to do and aggressively go in after them legally, at least to get the process going to get these, quote, squatters out of these properties. That's all I had to say.
Well, we started that today in identifying at 15008 Woodline, the location of your former campaign office, and the location that you wanted that business that you thought would bring politics, more stuff into the community. But we've identified a person that's living there illegally. Where there was a big party and a shooting that took place. A person got shot on New Year's Day. So I agree with you. I am working with the inspectors to make sure we work on getting those people out that's been properly
okay, and let me retort, Mayor. First of all, it's not my property. I rented the property. I rented the. Let me clean up the dirt that you just sent out there.
I never said it was your property.
Property owner who I managed that property from, who you intimidated and asked him to raise the rent when I was running for mayor.
Raise the rent?
When you intimidated him and sent young people to his other business about my signs being in his yard that you know. Now, you can say what you can say with Ms. Henyard, but I got people that have told me in your intimidation process, not only with me, but with former trustee Stan Brown of the property he was renting, where you go and intimidate these landowners. Now, Mayor, for you to infer that I had something to do with that property, I was really a renter, not the owner of the property. So for you to infer that I got something to do with some shooting that took place, I have nothing to do with it. This is the first that I'm hearing that. So what's the point of you even bringing that up? It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. For you to say a campaign office that I rented and that somebody else rented.
How did I intimidate an owner of the property to raise the rent when I've got documentation that that owner had been out of the country and was still out of the country?
In 2017, you intimidated the man to raise my rent because he was renting out to me because I was running for office, and that's the truth. You can talk over that if you want, but that's the truth.
Yes, the okay truth.
Okay, point of order.
Discussion is over with the squatters. Next thing on the agenda is the status of illegal cigarette vendors.
Okay, this question is to our attorney and you, Mayor. Item D, status of illegal cigarette vendors here in the village of Dolton. On more than one occasion, we've had a sting operation where these illegal vendors have been selling what we call loosies. We shut them down. The police do a august job of going in there undercover, busting these folks. They get shut down for a day or so. Last year when it happened, I sent out a memo to all, including the attorney, and of course he said they must have their day in court, which is fine. So I'd like Attorney Murphy and yourself to update the residents. What is the status of the particular vendor? And I won't say their name, and maybe the attorney, I don't want to say nothing public when it can't be, but what is the status of one particular vendor that has been selling loosies when they were closed down, the day after they closed down, and to this day they're still selling loosies, that we still got them operating in the village of Dolton along with a few other vendors in the village?
Okay, that's a question for me. We're talking about the Marathon Station. I've been working on the charges. I've got a draft out to staff to fill in some blanks. So we should be moving forward on the business license in short order. Any delay is 100% on me, but I've had other priority matters with this village over the past few months, and but nevertheless, this matter is being pursued.
Okay, in layman's term, being pursued, meaning are they in violation of the law, attorney?
Yeah.
Have they been found guilty by this village?
I've been told that they've been found guilty on the tickets that were issued. I need to verify that. Once that's been verified, I've drafted a notice of proposed business license revocation, and that's out to staff
So is that our ultimate goal, is the revocation of the license of this particular vendor? Is that our ultimate step?
I'm not going to say whether it's suspension or revocation because that's unfair. That would be a violation of the due process rights of the vendor.
Okay, well, this...
We're going to give them a hearing.
All right, well, this
that's what we're required to do.
Yes, well, this has gone on since, I believe, July of last year. They're still operating, not only them and others. And I get this complaint from residents because that's where it comes from. They call me and other trustees. I'm sure I'm not the only one. These individuals are open for business because they feel they're impugned to the law. That they can sell these loosies, import these cigarettes from different counties, different states, and sell illegal cigarettes here in Dolton. They come in Dolton because they have free hand. And I would hope that when this is done, that we can shut down all of these illegal vendors that are not only selling illegal cigarettes, but counterfeit property in these stores that we know that they're selling, because it puts a blemish on the village of Dolton that these vendors feel they can come in here and have free reign to sell loosies and other illegal materials here in the village of Dolton. So I thank you, Attorney, and we will follow up to see what the status of that is.
Mayor, can I be recognized? I just want to...
We on discussion of the matter. Mayor,
I have concern.
Just be quiet, please. Yeah, that's real intelligent.
I have concern about it because they're blatant. And you know, what's being said is Dolton don't care. That's what they're...
Exactly.
That's what they think.
If Dolton didn't care, these undercover stings wouldn't occur.
Mayor, I'm just speaking from one of the owners. One of the owners came and talked to Trustee Muhammad and me and said that he can't survive trying to sell cigarettes the correct way because people won't buy his cigarettes when they could go and get loosies at several spots, and told us the spots, and I have witnessed it myself, and it just seems like we don't care. What takes from July to now?
Right.
That is unbelievable. I mean, it's the tax dollars. They're hurting the whole village because they're making money, and he told us they make between $900 and $1,000 a day. And his words to us was, Trustee, you could fine us $5,000, but we make $365,000 a year. We don't care when you fine them $5,000. I'm just telling you what he said.
It's fine,
and
Trustee.
he said, until you shut them down, that's the only thing that's going to hurt. And the residents, I mean, we don't get the tax dollars. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
We are hurting for money, and we don't get the tax dollars.
Do you know that every agency, Cook County, the State Department of Revenue, and our municipality has worked on these cases? Cook County has charged several of these gas stations thousands of dollars in fines. They have not paid them in some cases they have, and they have not shut them down. Now, our stings was done by, and correct me if I'm wrong, were done by, along with our people in the State Department of Revenue. Brian Thigpen told me, well, the state was busy, they haven't conducted, we're going to do it. He initiated with the police department to conduct this thing. So, in the ordinance that was passed here, I believe it was every calendar year, 2 violations every calendar year or something like that. So he mentioned the fact that that time period, to me, that time period had passed and we start all over again. So, maybe the ordinance needs to be modified. Another thing is manpower. Manpower. You know, you're just now starting to hire police officers. For years, I've asked for hiring more police officers.
They were already caught and found guilty.
Yes,
I don't understand.
They went through the process and have been found guilty.
Did you hear what I said? The ordinance. You need to review the ordinance because Brian Thigpen mentioned the fact that it's so many violations in a calendar year. So you can change that.
I did change it last year. I tried to beef it up through Attorney Murphy. Through Attorney Murphy.
And what happened?
That's the ordinance that we came up with.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer.
All right, it's here on the floor now.
No, we're still in discussion, Mayor.
I just don't know.
Mayor, we're still in discussion.
Can somebody tell us when they're going to be closed? Because they were found guilty. They're ripping this community off, and all you hear from residents is, why are we allowing this in our community?
It's happening in every community.
I ain't saying that. I'm
It's
talking
happening in
about
every
Dolton.
community.
This is where we live.
It's not in every community.
It
You
is.
know,
It is.
and when you say that,
It
Mayor,
is.
I can
It
tell you
is.
community, it's not
It
happening
is.
in Lake Forest. It's
It
not
is.
happening in Orland
That's what
Park.
you
It's
said.
not happening in Winnetka.
That's what you
But it
think.
comes to Dolton, and I'm
That's what
sorry
you
you
think.
want the dialogue shut down
Right.
because it starts from the top. If we're more aggressive
Attorney
with this
Murphy.
illegal person
Right.
selling
Hire some
these
police
illegal
officers like I
products,
asked you to do.
and the
Attorney
attorney
Murphy.
already
Don't
told
have
you it's in the
anything to do with
process,
it.
and it shouldn't be since July of last year that we're still dealing with this, and for you to always say it's happening in other communities.
so you're
We're
saying-
talking about the
you're
village
saying
of
that-
Dolton where this
you're
is going
saying
on, and we need to have
attorney
it
is not
stop,
doing his
Mayor,
job?
and it starts with you.
You saying the attorney's not doing his job?
I'm saying that you can hire 90 police, but if you bust them and let them stay open, what's the use of hiring 90 more police? It ain't the police
It's
that's
not
the
the
problem.
police.
The problem is they got to be closed when they're caught.
According to the ordinance that you put in place.
Wow, now I'm an attorney. I guess I wrote that ordinance.
Yeah, why don't you let the attorney interpret it, what the ordinance is in place?
We're moving forward on Marathon. Marathon's the only one I know that I've been given information about. Citations were issued. I was not given notification that there was a guilty. I was told that there was a guilty. I've been working on the draft charges. They're out to staff. There's nothing else I can say. We'll schedule a hearing, and what will come of the hearing will be, we'll let you know. But every property owner, and including property owners under this ordinance or business licensees, are entitled to a hearing. So we'll serve the charges and we'll have a hearing.
Wait, attorney, I just want to make sure I understand. They get another hearing?
There's
They haven't had one.
There's two separate hearings. One is the adjudication in court, whether it's in local court or in Markham. I don't know, on the tickets, okay? So if there's a finding of guilty on the ticket, that then produces the basis to go after the license. So we don't go after the license until the charges have been adjudicated. Why? Because if they're found not guilty, then we got no basis to revoke the license, right?
This has
So
been
we
going
have
on
to-
since July of last year.
Well,
I can't keep talking about, we're saying the same thing 20 times.
You are right, but we're hearing that there's another reason that we're not going after them, and that'll come up.
No, that's not another reason. That's the way these things are handled.
No, that's going to come up at the next meeting. That's what's going to happen. There is a reason.
Yep.
No further discussion. Next thing on the agenda is zoning for Grace Temple Church.
Mayor, I would like to move item E off the agenda.
Okay. Next thing is the mayor's report. The only thing that I have to say is that I was accused of sending, there was Mr. Jones up here along with his wife, and I was accused of sending Public Works out to issue him a $1,500 ticket because his water was turned off, and somehow before it got went to Public Works to be turned back on by Public Works, when Public Works went out to check it, it was already turned on. Public Works issued him a ticket, and he accused me of having them do that, which I had no contact with Public Works when they did that. He went to court and was found guilty, and he was assessed a fine. So I just want to make that clear, that the court apparently found there was some legitimacy to the reason that Public Works issued that ticket, and so I just wanted to clear that up. Next thing on the agenda is citizens' address.
How y'all doing tonight? It's late, very late.
Put your mouth right up to it like a rap.
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you all know me. I work for Public Works. And I want to say something to the mayor as well as the trustees. I appreciate you all hiring more policemen. I appreciate you all hiring 3 other firemen because we definitely need them. Now, on December the 28th, I got a letter from Angela Blacher with Matt Stacy in attendance and my union rep that I had been terminated from my position.
Mike, upon advice from an attorney, this is an employment issue.
Okay.
And it should be discussed.
Can I say one thing, though? I want to say one thing.
And it should be discussed in executive session.
Okay, well, we can do that. If y'all want to do that, that's fine.
Well, there's a grievance being filed, so it's going to
Well, I
go
know
through
it's
the
a grievance being filed, but see, I'm off work right now, and I'm not making any money. He's at work. He's making money. You follow what I'm saying?
Mike, it's not going to get resolved here tonight.
Okay, so when will it get resolved?
We can set up executive session.
We'll have it tonight.
And that's fine. We can set up executive session
tonight.
Okay.
We can vote on executive session.
Okay.
Come in and talk to the board.
Okay.
And you get your opportunity to explain it. But employee matters we don't discuss in front of the
That's fine.
public.
I can wait around for that. That's
Okay.
fine. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Can't vote on anything, it's not on the agenda.
Okay. Well, you can make that up. Mr. Conrad, how you doing?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. First, before I say why I'm here, I want to thank you for getting the light on the northwest corner of 144th and Chicago Road, right above the bus stop.
Right.
Thanks for getting it on, especially since there were like problems, budgeting problems, and you still got it up, and you still got it.
We've got a
on
wiring problem there. We've repaired that light probably 4 to 5 times. There's an underground wiring problem, and it doesn't. It happens for some reason. It blows that light out. We've replaced the fixtures. We've replaced many bulbs, but
it's still on.
But it's still on right now.
It's still on.
And you know, over the past 3 years, you've complained about that light being out, but there's no way that light should go out the way it does. There's an electrical problem there.
That I was not aware of.
Yeah.
But thank you so much every time that I do come, because as we both know, light's a deterrent to crime.
Sure.
And in the city, I even remember when right along the Skyway, some lady was in her minivan and the light went out, and
Right.
she sued Chicago because the light was out. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, because light is a deterrent to crime. But the reason why I'm here tonight is because, you know, my house faces 144th Street,
Right.
okay? The first tree west of Chicago Road on 144th Street,
On the north side
on
of the
the
street.
northwest parkway of that intersection, is dying.
Yeah.
And I mean, 3 trunks are coming out. The village already cut one of the trunks, which goes over 144th, for fear that it was going to literally collapse into the street. And the rest of the tree is diseased. Bark is falling off of it. Even in the summertime, you'll see there are no leaves that even go on the tree compared to the other 2, which are further west along that parkway.
Right.
And now I know that the last time I was here to talk about the light, I think I heard you say that you literally have hundreds of trees in the village that you're working on.
Yeah.
So you have a considerable backlog, if I understood you correctly when I was here the last time to talk about the light.
There's a lot of trees that need to be trimmed. There's a lot of trees that I won't say a lot, but there's several trees that need to be cut down. As you heard tonight, the young lady mentioned the reason that we need trees, and we have a lot of issues with flooding in Dolton. We pursued funding for the flooding. We didn't obtain it. So another method we thought was to plant trees and make sure that the trees that are here, we don't cut them down for cosmetic reasons. We trim them because of the amount of water that they absorb.
Right.
So, we can take a look at the tree.
Right.
Make a determination if it needs to be cut down and or trim, and we can go from there. But
that's all I ask.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
We'll look
Mayor.
at it tomorrow. Thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Wow. My name is Joseph Roger Joy. I'm on Sanderson. I've been a resident of Dolton since 1994. I was a member of the Zoning Board of Appeal here in Dolton, and I've been here. I raised most of my children here. Now, the way I see things here tonight, I came here, I used to come here, I love Dolton very much. I have invited 2 Nigerian kings to this country, and they came to this city hall to address you based on the way I love Dolton, based on the way I see things. But what I saw here tonight is very, very alarming. You all acting as a third world country. This is supposed to be one of the best countries in the world. You are not displaying it. I'm sorry to say. I have to tell you the truth. I am very disappointed. But some of my concerns, there's the stop sign on Harvin between Greenwood and 144th Street there. It's not necessary. It's not a street, it's not a place. There's a stop sign right there on that street there. It's been there for many years. I know Mayor Luz spoke about it while he was alive, but that stop sign is useless. You just leave Greenwood, the next sign on 144, there's another stop sign there. Who are we stopping for the, you know, it doesn't make sense. Then, you talk about some issue here about something not being recorded or not being produced. I was wondering, the contract you have with that person, is it a contract or is he doing it pay as you go? Because I assume that, you know, when an administration like this awards something, that individual should be able to perform based on his financial capability. I know you're talking about $2,000 reimbursement for that person, but it doesn't justify not doing whatever he's been asked to do. I don't see that. To me, I think, you know, that is absolutely wrong. The next one is 15008 Woodlawn. That's my son that owns that building, and I'm responsible for him right now. Yes, it's true he's out of country, but that doesn't mean that there's no nobody managing it. When I heard of the gunshot, which came from the nightclub across, the New Year's Eve, the gunshot came from across the street. There was nobody in the building when it happened. And so, I immediately called one of the trustees to find out if any report has been filed with Dolton Police. And Lieutenant Moore, I don't know him, but he called me and he told me that a report was filed, and he went there to investigate. So now now you are bringing him in because of Trustee Mohammed. I have got the keys from Trustee Mohammed. He doesn't have any business there anymore. So he has right. I met with you and I got the keys from you because I told you that, you know, we need to take possession of that building. So, and I am directly responsible for that. So now the mayor now saying, I really didn't understand what you said about it, but what I'm saying is that, you know, if there's any grievance between you and a trustee, it doesn't have to affect us. It doesn't have to affect my son.
No, are you? No. What I'm saying is one of the things is that I had intimidated your son to raise his rent. Your son has been out of the country. We got documentation in the file that when we tried to contact your son, he had been out of the country. Yeah. And there was someone else, I'm not sure if it was you or not, that was managing the property. So okay.
That was my son. That was my son.
Said there was a shooting in the building, Mayor. You alluded that there was a shooting inside 150.
I said somebody that the resident in there was being shot at.
I said in front of the building. I did not say in the building. There has been a report that has been generated. There was an injured party. There was also criminal damage to property that was reported by someone there. The police took all those reports.
Yes.
So in their investigation, they try to find out who's supposed to be in the building, and this tenant's upstairs, and with in regards to the building department, they said no one should be there. No one applied for occupancy.
Nobody is in there. Nobody is in there. Yeah, they may have. I have asked everybody to move whatever they have in there. Everybody's got to move whatever they left in there. But nobody is currently living in there.
You should check with our inspectors because they verified it.
How can they get in?
They verified it.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's not, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to have any.
Yeah, I don't want to argue
because,
either.
Yeah,
Plus, I'm going to say this. I got to go.
I don't have anything against you.
Okay.
Because we've never met.
You're right.
Maybe the time I wanted to meet, a while ago, I came here too, and I saw the acrimony.
Yeah.
I tried to reach out to you to see if you know, because with my little knowledge, I didn't think things were going all right. But I couldn't get across to you, and I stopped there. So I have never had any.
We can meet. We can meet. You know, I got no problem with meeting.
Yeah,
with you.
I have come to your office. I have requested to see you. I've never, but that's I have requested to meet with you. But that's okay.
I'm not sure who you've talked to, but what happens
they
is
gave me 2 business cards that somebody will call me, but eventually that's.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who you talked to.
But that's okay.
What usually happens?
The issue on the ground.
What usually happens is when you call my office, you want to make an appointment.
I came there. I walked in.
It's taken by the gentleman upstairs.
I walked in. I walked in.
Okay. I don't know that you walk in if I'm not here.
You may not know because they didn't deliver to you. I'm not blaming you.
Emergency. I just notified by the police chief. We have an emergency going, and I have to leave. I apologize.
So do I continue?
Yes, sir.
Because now this is, in United States of America, I'm expecting a lot. Believe me, I have been living here since 1970. I've been here in Chicago since 1970, so I'm not a stranger here. But what I'm seeing here is very disturbing. We need to do better than this. Now, I wanted to tell the mayor about that building, the school. Okay, because of Trustee Mohammed, you know the parking lot between, right next to Tacos, right next to Taco Bell, the students of my son's school were using that parking lot. But because of Trustee Mohammed, mayor ordered that the place be closed up. Now, we used to manage, we used to move the snow, we used to do everything there. Now, I wanted him to I'll tell him. But
that's why he left, sir.
Yeah, we didn't complain because, I tell my son, we are, I've been here in this city. I've seen the best. Mayor Shaw was very good friend of mine. Mayor Lewis was good friend of mine. So I don't see, I have been in this village for quite a long time. But what we are seeing now, we got to do better. I'm not about anybody. I'm not about to crucify anybody. But you all have to rise above board. You got to go back to drawing board. This is not the way to operate.
Yes, sir.
On personal vendetta. What does that? Where will that lead us?
Right.
You're right.
Everything is on personal vendetta. I haven't seen this even in third world country. I was planning on only bringing some politicians, but God forbid, I never bring them to Dolton to come and witness you here. It's unfortunate.
Thank you.
But we get to do better.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Arthur Adams has just one question for Trustee Henyard. I got one question for you, Trustee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a very good program that you're trying to implement with the housing for the vacant houses and let the citizens buy them. Is there any way of acquiring the list for those homes so that we can look at them and decide which ones we may be interested in?
Yes, we do have a list. Unfortunately, we did not give the list out because I don't want to send you false hope. I want the attorney to basically wipe it clean before we give the individual the list, just in case that property don't come up available.
I appreciate it because I am an investor myself.
Okay.
I invest in Chicago. I'm looking at a property right now in Riverdale.
Okay.
And I am a licensed general contractor in Chicago as of right now.
Okay, perfect. And then did you register with us? Did you get the license here?
I had one already, but I'm getting ready to go back and acquire it again.
Well, we welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, residents of Dolton, trustees. I have a concern. I want to know, I understand that with the courts or whatever about the water bills, well, not the water bills, the water department. that we were to have a water bill account set up. The question is, has that account been set up?
Yes.
It has been. When was it set up?
I think, ma'am, what you're talking about is the segregation of water accounts that we did
Yes,
per our
that
agreement
was
with
supposed to be a separate account for the water bill.
with City of Chicago. We've done
Yes.
that. Yeah.
We have
So when was that done?
Oh, several months ago before Yvonne left.
Beg your pardon?
Several months ago before Miss Redmond left the village. It was, what, 6 months ago? Because it was...
Say like September, October?
Yeah,
it's a long time ago.
Yeah, several months ago. So that all the water revenues are going specifically into the water fund.
Okay.
That's part of our deal with Chicago on the repayment.
Right, and the reason why, when you said that several months ago, I didn't know that we had, because I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know we were supposed to had a court date or something, and I didn't know that it had been 6 months ago, but as long as the account is set up, and it has been set up or whatever, and it's in force, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes, the settlement agreement with Chicago was what do we do, a month and a half ago or something like that?
Yeah.
But knowing that this was coming and that it was going to be part of the agreement with Chicago,
Yeah.
we put that into place on our own. So actually, the segregating of the water revenues in a separate water account was done by the village on our own, anticipating the Chicago requirement.
Right, I just wanted to know that it had been done. I know that we were supposed to have it done, and I just wanted to know if it had been done and everybody was aware of it.
Yes.
Because since we have been in contracts before and we have broken the contracts, my concern now is if we break the one that we in now, that we gonna be in double trouble than what we in before. So that was my question.
You might say
So
we
it's
would be in hot water.
No, we'd be past that.
We would go into receivership. If we default on this agreement, we go into receivership. So we hope that there are some checks and balances on this administration. But what the city did is made sure that those funds that was collected from us, the taxpayer, will go directly to the city of Chicago. It bypasses us and goes directly to them.
Good evening. I want to echo the sentiments of another resident. I believe that program, Trustee Henyard, is excellent. Hopefully it can bring some resources, also some visibility to the village.
Thank you.
Chief, I think tonight on the body cams, I'm not sure if he has found guidance from this, but maybe the attorney could help him. Senate Bill 1304, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was passed in Senate Bill 1304 was passed in August of 2015. It was a bill that helps improve police and community relations. In that bill, it does provide guidance on the uses of body cams, but more importantly, possible funding on body cams. So I just want to note that it's Senate Bill 1304 is passed in August of 2015.
What session was that? Because it's got a public act number.
It's PA.
You got a PA number?
I can get it. Hold on. Yeah.
And we pay no money for those. Those will come from the asset forfeiture fund. So that money does not come from the general account.
99-0352.
I'll make sure he's aware of that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. My third point is the property that is the old Standard Bank. Who owns that?
Standard Bank. I could find out for you.
It's that's one of the properties that South Suburban Land Bank was able to remove the taxes, and it's now occupied by a non-for-profit. I can't think of the name of it, but it's a non-for-profit that's in possession of that property.
So somebody is in that building.
Somebody, yes, through the South Suburban Land Bank.
If I can get that information,
Yeah,
that'd
if
be
Denise is
great.
in the back, you can go see her. She will know. She could pull the record up for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The owner of record is South Suburban Land Bank.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else for citizens address?
We need to go in a closed session for the mayor's not here. Can we still do it?
You know, we mentioned tonight about opening the fire station. Can someone check, maybe the attorney or whatever, and find out if there are any grants or anything that we can get to rehab that building? Because if it is in half the shape that has been stated or whatever, we need to have an inspector go in and give us a list of everything that we're in violation of, and also to see, that's going to cost a lot of money. So in case, have someone start investigating whatever, if there are grants or whatever available for us to rehab that building.
Chief, can you check on that?
We'll do it.
If there's any grants, sir? Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm going to piggyback on that. My concern is that for the second station, been closed since July, and you're telling me that no one has investigated or started process of what needed to be repaired. I was told at this mic that there was a list of items that were in violation
of cleaning, and they had contacted some exterminators and started doing some things, but then the mayor ordered everybody to stay out of the building. So we have to start basically with the quotes that we have and all the other issues that the chief talked about tonight. And we have to start on all those items.
And I have a question. There was a comment, a suggestion made about looking for grants. Is there a fund source, just as there is for the police department? Is there a fund source that those repairs can come from, Chief?
No.
No.
I mean, that's the 2%, but on a restroom, yes. You know, they were using 2% funds. That's funds that are given to the fire department that they can use for whatever they need. But there's no, I mean, the fire department don't make arrests. They don't get any money from anywhere.
I know that.
So there's really, it comes out of the general fund.
Okay. All right. So, and I really would like for you to work with the chief, if he's in agreement with that, to hurry that process along, because, excuse me, there's been fire ambulances that come all the way from this end of the village of Dolton, and I've said it before, to get to individuals that need that assistance. And I think that's unfair to every taxpayer.
Yes.
I'm not faulting anyone. I just think that that fire station needs to be open ASAP, as soon as possible.
I agree.
Understood.
Thanks, Ms. Creighton. If there's no one else, can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'd like to make a motion.
Collective negotiating matters and pending litigation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Trustee Muhammad?
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye. If anybody want to stay after, we'll be back out in about 15 minutes. I know, right?
Come on, Diane. I know you want to stay and see us.